Corrections Department for approval of final contract amount of $1,185,646.09 and acceptance of work on contract with DNB Enterprises, Inc. for underground storage tank replacement at the Northwest Environmental Service Center and the installation of stormwater interceptors at the Environmental Service Center Southeast, Northeast, and Northwest Service Center for the Solid Waste Management Department. Item 4, recommendation from Director Houston Public Works for approval of final contract amount of $5,917,774.69 and acceptance of work on contract with CFG Industries LLC for rehabilitation of water storage tanks, package 10. Item 5, recommendation from Director of Houston Public Works for approval of final contract amount of $35,116,366.98 and acceptance of work on contract with Harper Brothers Construction LLC for 108-inch water line along city easements from Smith Road to Lee Road. Item 6, Rita Distributors, Inc. for fluid metering system upgrades through the interlocal agreement for cooperative purchasing with the Texas Local Purchasing Cooperative by Board for the Fleet Management Department. Item 7, Chastang Enterprises Houston LLC, DBA Chastang Ford, for the replacement of Harvey light-duty vehicles and various light-duty automobiles, SUVs, and pickup trucks for Fleet Management Department on behalf of Houston Public Works. Item 8, Troxel, TROXELL Communications, Inc. for the purchase of audiovisual equipment, supplies, and services through the Texas Local Government Purchasing Cooperative by Board for the Houston Information Technology Services Department. Item 9, Associated Supply Co. Inc. to approve the purchase of air compressors and message boards through the interlocal agreement for cooperative purchasing with the Texas Local Cooperative by Board for the Fleet Management Department on behalf of Houston Public Works. Item 10, Deculant, Inc. for the purchase of pre-stretched commercial wire rope for Houston Public Works. Item 11, Harper Brothers in Construction LLC for emergency repair and restoration services for Houston Public Works. Item 12, Global Business Management Consultants for professional staff training for Houston Public Works. Item 13, Simple File LC for real property e-recording for Houston Public Works. Item 14, Planet Cellular Inc. for GeoHecras, GEOHECRAS renewal licenses for Houston Public Works. Item 15, Patricia Tech Supply and Services for purchase of water meter turn-off keys. Item 16, Southern Ionics Incorporated for the supply of aqua ammonia for Houston Public Works. Item 17, Deere & Co., $528,045.78. And Professional Turf Products, LP, $1,295,334.90 for groundskeeping equipment for the Fleet Management Department on behalf of various departments. Item 18, approved spending authority for emergency purchase of various goods and services related to the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Item 19, approved spending authority for emergency purchase of various goods and services related to the city's response to the winter storm Uri. Item 20, ordinance approving and authorizing agreement between City of Houston and Bracewell LLP for bond counsel services related to replacement of a credit facility. Excuse me. So various city departments providing a maximum contract amount. Item 21, ordinance amending various sections of the City of Houston Code of Ordinances relating to fines for dumping of refuse, containing fines and other provisions related to the foregoing subject, containing a savings clause providing for severability. Item 22, ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor of the City of Houston to accept grant funds from various federal entities for coronavirus disease relief and economic stimulus under the American Rescue Plan Act, declaring the city's eligibility for such a grant, authorizes the mayor to expend the grant funds as awarded and to apply for and accept all subsequent awards, if any, pertaining to the grant. Item 23, ordinance approving and authorizing First Amendment to contract between City of Houston and the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for the administration of the Texas Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Item 24, ordinance approving and authorizing grant contract between City of Houston and the Texas Department of State Health Services for diabetes prevention and control program services. Item 25, ordinance approving and authorizing submission of an electronic application for grant assistance to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for the Advancing Health Literacy to enhance equitable community responses to COVID-19 project for the Houston Health Department declaring the city's eligibility for such a grant, authorizing the director of the City of Houston Health Department to act as the city's representative in the electronic application process with the authority to accept the grant and expend the grant funds as awarded and to apply for and accept all subsequent awards, if any, pertaining to the grant. Item 26, ordinance designating the property municipally known as 4101 Lyons Avenue and also known as Lewis White Grocery, being located within the city of Houston, Texas, as a protected landmark containing findings related to the foregoing subject, providing for a penalty. Item 27, ordinance designating the property municipally known as 911 Woodland Street and also known as the Provestle, Proebstle Horton House, being located within the city of Houston, Texas, as a protected landmark containing findings and other provisions related to the foregoing subject, providing for a penalty. Item 28, ordinance for approving and authorizing contract between the City of Houston and Skyline Technology Solutions, LLC, for public safety video network gap analysis services for the Mayor's Office of Public Safety and Homeland Security, providing a maximum contract amount. Item 29 has been pulled and will not be considered. Item 30, ordinance approving and authorizing the submission of an application for and acceptance of grant funds through the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division for the FY 2022 Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force grant, declaring the city's eligibility for such a grant, authorizing the police chief of the City of Houston Police Department to act as the city's representative in the application process, to apply for, accept, and expend the grant funds if awarded, and to apply for, accept, and expend all subsequent awards, if any, pertaining to the grant, and to extend the budget period. Item 31, ordinance approving and authorizing submission of an application for and acceptance of grant funds through the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division for the FY 2022 Violent Offender Initiative Grant, declaring the city's eligibility for such a grant, authorizing the police chief of the City of Houston Police Department to act as the city's representative in the application process, to apply for, accept, and expend the grant funds if awarded, and to apply for, accept, and expend all subsequent awards, if any, pertaining to the grant, and to extend the budget period. Item 32, ordinance establishing the north and south sides of the 1100 block of Willard Street within the City of Houston, Texas, as a special minimum lot size block pursuant to Chapter 42 of the Code of Ordinances, Houston, Texas. Item 33, ordinance establishing the north and south sides of the 12 to 1300 block of Willard Street within the City of Houston, Texas, as a special minimum lot size block pursuant to Chapter 42 of the Code of Ordinances, Houston, Texas. Item 34, ordinance repealing ordinance number 2002-377, establishing the north and south sides of the 1100, 1200, and 1300 blocks of Willard Street within the City of Houston, Texas, as a special minimum lot size requirement area pursuant to Chapter 42 of the Code of Ordinances, Houston, Texas. Item 35, ordinance finding and determining that public convenience and necessity no longer require the continued use of 1, Gregg Street from Clinton Drive to Richardson Street, 2, Grove Street from Clinton Drive south to its terminus, 3, Bayou Street from Clinton Drive to Swanee Street, Richardson Street from Bayou Street to Gregg Street, 5, Davis Street from Bayou Street to Grove Street, 6, Swanee Street from Bayou Street to Grove Street, 7, Jensen Drive, aka Hill Street, and 8, various sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water line, and utility easements, all out of the S.M. Harris Survey, abstract number 327, and the Darius Gregg Survey, abstract number 283, Harris County, Texas, abandoning said portions to KBRN LP, the abutting owner, in exchange for a cash payment to the city of $5,100.00, and conveyance to the city of 1, 4, storm sewer easements, 2, street right-of-way, 3, 6, hike and bike trails and or pedestrian easements, all out of the S.M. Harris Survey, abstract 327, the Darius Gregg Survey, abstract number 283, and the Harris and Wilson Survey, abstract number 32, Harris County, Texas, and other good and valuable consideration. Item 36, ordinance approving and authorizing Transportation Network Company operating agreement between City of Houston and Alto Operations Texas LLC at George Bush Intercontinental Airport, Houston, and William P. Hobby Airport. Item 37, ordinance approving and authorizing Fourth Amendment to lease agreement between 1415 NLW LLC as landlord and the City of Houston, Texas as tenant for 2,602 square feet of office space at 1415 North Loop West, Houston, Harris County, Texas, for general office space for the Internal Affairs Division of the Houston Police Department. Item 38, ordinance appropriating $344,011.50 out of dedicated drainage and street renewal capital fund drainage charge as an additional appropriation, approving and authorizing First Amendment to professional engineering services contract between City of Houston and Cobb Finley and Associates, Inc. for Magnolia Park Section 2 area drainage and paving improvements approved by ordinance number 2016-0133, providing funding for CIP cost recovery relating to construction of facilities financed by the dedicated drainage and street renewal capital fund drainage charge. This is the end of the consent agenda. Excuse me. This completes the reading of the agenda for the council session of May 26, 2021. Stay tuned for the next session of the Houston City Council, scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. In the words of our former city secretary, Ms. Anna Russell, she always said, drive safe, drive friendly, and have a nice day. I want to leave you with the words of the current city secretary, myself, Pat Jefferson Daniel. I want you to always treat everyone in the way you want to be treated.
Such wisdom to live by. Thank you, Pat.
You are so welcome, Councilmember Robinson. Oh, and I would be so remiss if I didn't remember my nephew's birthday is today, but my daughter's birthday is May 29th, and there's so many May babies. So happy birthday to everyone born in the month of May.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You are so welcome. Have a fantabulous day, everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Good morning, council members. If you guys can hear me, if somebody will say hello.
Good morning, Councilmember Kubash here.
Good morning, council member. Thank you so much.
Good
We'll
morning,
start-
Martha.
Good morning, council member Plummer. Thank you, guys. We'll start momentarily.
Come on. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. And we're going to get started. I show 9 a.m. on Wednesday, May 26th, 2021. I'm Mayor Sylvester Turner, and I'm calling this meeting of the Houston City Council to order as a virtual meeting using Microsoft Teams. Yes, the Secretary, please.
Yeah, it's a
I'll give you a call the roll. City Secretary.
Mayor Turner,
Here.
Councilman Peck,
Here.
Councilman Jackson, Councilman Kamen, Councilman Evans Shabazz,
Here.
Councilman Martin will be absent. Councilman Thomas,
Present.
Councilman Travis,
Present online.
Councilman Cisneros,
Here.
Councilman Gallegos, Councilman Pollard,
Here.
Councilman Castaneda,
Here.
Councilman Knox,
Here.
Councilman Robinson,
here.
Councilman Kubash,
Here.
Councilman Plummer,
Here.
and Councilman Alcorn.
Here.
And Councilmember Kamen is here.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. If you have to leave the meeting today, please type that in the chat window and then you can proceed to hang up. State your name when motioning, seconding, or tagging an item. And if you're voting no, please do so out loud, and then I'll ask for each council member voting no to state your name. As always, silence during the vote will be considered a yes vote. And then please type speak in the chat window if you would like to be recognized to speak, and the agenda director will be monitoring the chat window and will bring your name to my attention. Or if we overlook you, just speak up or raise your hand, and I'll gladly recognize you. And just as a reminder for the very beginning, that for next week, the virtual it's going to be what do you call it? It's going to be a hybrid meeting. The community meeting will continue to be virtual. Okay, even though the council members will be meeting in the chamber next week, so the community meeting will be virtual. The actual city council meeting will be in person, but we'll all be in for the whole thing. So I just wanted to let people know that. Okay, Madam Secretary, if you'll please call the first hearing.
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
You said the public session is going to be virtual. Will we need to bring our laptops so we can hear them, or will it be on speaker? How will we be able to hear them?
Yeah, they're setting it up on speaker. You won't need to bring your laptop.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, sure. Okay. Madam Secretary.
Item 1 is a public hearing establishing the resolution no objection for the 4% tax credit application of Temenos Permanent Affordable LLC.
Okay, thank you. And for these hearings, we will have a presentation from the Housing Community Development Department, Ray Miller. And after that, we'll hear from any public speakers. And please remember that you had to sign up by 3 p.m. yesterday to speak. Also remember, when it comes to the public session, to the public response, to press *6 when your name is called. So, Mr. Miller, if you'll begin on public hearing number 1.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor and council members. My name is Ray Miller. I'm Assistant Director in the Housing and Community Development Department. We requested to hold this public hearing for the transaction known as Temenos Place as a requirement for an application of 4% housing tax credits to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. An item for a no opposition resolution for the proposed development will be brought before City Council next week. Temenos Place is a proposed 95-unit residential development to be located at 1703 Gray Street in District D. Temenos Place will be the result of a joint partnership with Temenos CDC and NHP, and is experienced affordable housing developer specializing in permanent supportive housing. Temenos Place will provide permanent supportive housing for previously homeless residents that will be displaced from Temenos 2 as a result for the purchase of the building from TxDOT. As background, Temenos 2 is an existing 80-unit affordable housing development that provides housing and services to homeless individuals. The site of Temenos 2 is located in the right-of-way of the pending I-45 project and was sold last year to TxDOT under the likelihood it would be condemned under eminent domain. Per the purchase agreement, TxDOT will allow the residents to remain on site until 2024 to allow the completion of Temenos Place and relocation of the residents. Applicants requesting a resolution of no opposition from the city are required to demonstrate the proposed development will not negatively impact the residents or the city as a whole. The department reviews these requests based on the site's flood determination, area demographics, and school performance. After review, Temenos Place meets the flood zone determination requirements and is not located in the 100-year or floodway, and is also located in a census tract with less than 25% poverty. Our department's criteria related to school performance did not apply to permanent supportive housing developments. In addition, the department is underwriting an investment in this facility that includes $4.5 million of repaid home and bond funds as a result of the purchase by TxDOT, along with a supplemental $8 million investment of CDBG-DR funds. The loan agreement for these investments will be presented to City Council within the coming weeks. Based on its assessment, the Housing Department is recommending the Temenos Place application receive a resolution of no opposition for its application to the TDHCA. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions to Ray Miller on the presentation? Questions to Ray Miller? Any questions? I don't show any public speakers that are signed up. Is there anyone that we overlooked that may have signed up in the time period allowed? Okay. Is there a motion now to close the public hearing?
Mayor, what this Gallegos, what is the address of that location again?
Great.
1703 Gray Street.
Okay.
Gray Street, okay. Is that the one that we did ribbon cutting not too long ago?
It is. So it currently houses a chronic inebriant center, which will be reconstructed into the 93 unit development to include the PSH and the units for chronic inebriants on that site. But yes, there was a ribbon cutting not too long ago on that site.
Yeah, Mayor, I think that's, I think when you had just become mayor, or I don't know, I'm not sure if you were even mayor yet. I think you had just won, but you went to that ribbon cutting. I remember seeing you there.
I remember that. I do.
Yeah, and now it's going to be demolished? Jeez. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Motion, Robinson?
Second.
Evans Shabazz.
And moved and second to close the hearing. Any objection? Chair is none. The motion is granted. Madam Secretary, you'll call the next item.
Item 2 is a public hearing on the city budgets for the time period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Okay. We don't have anyone making the presentation. We've done that in BFA. And so we're going to go directly to those who have signed up to speak. And there are a number of speakers that we have this morning. In fact, it totals about 104 minutes for this morning in public speakers. So just wanting everybody to be fully aware that there are a number of speakers. So why don't we get right to it? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the first speaker.
Kristen Cavalaran.
Kristen Cavalaran. If you press *6, you can proceed. Kristen Cavalaran. Caballaron. Cabalian or Cavalaran? Kristen, *6. Kristen. Next speaker.
Mo Cortez.
Mo Cortez. If you press *6, you can proceed. Mo Cortez, *6. Mo Cortez, *6. Next speaker.
Ricardo Rivera.
Ricardo Rivera. If you will, all of the speakers, if you'll press *6, you can proceed. Ricardo Rivera, *6. Ricardo Rivera. And I would say that some of the people on this list spoke to us on yesterday. Next speaker.
Justin Glasper.
Justin Glasper, *6. Justin Glasper. If you press *6. Justin Glasper, *6. Justin. Next speaker.
Katya Abajajan.
Katya Abajajan. Katya Abajajan. If you will press *6. Katya Abajajan. Katya. Next speaker.
Eris Brown.
Eris Brown. Eris Brown. If you press *6, you can proceed. Eris.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Eris Brown. I'm a member of the Houston Abolitionist Collective, a member with the Houston Coalition for Equitable Development Without Displacement, an organizer with Mutual Aid Houston, as well as a poet raised in South Houston in the Savannah Apartments right near Hobby Airport, a former student at the Houston Public Schools, Houston Charter Schools, and Houston 2 Days College undergrad and graduate student at the University of Houston, currently repping District A. I mentioned this to showcase the backgrounds and organizations in which I and so many speakers on here take part in that go unnoticed, that go so overlooked when we come on here and speak. This isn't our full-time job, but many of us work around the clock to ensure that we have a say in building the Houston we want to see. We fight for abolition because it considers a world that over time has no need for police, because we prioritize safety instead of safety as a response to unsafe conditions. Jason Oliver, who's spoken over and over at these meetings, said if police are the only option created to give any semblance of safety, then you are not giving people a fair choice. I, and alongside other world builders and future makers who have spoken, who will speak today, ask you to be a more innovative leader, Mayor Turner, one who gives the community a fair choice at deciding what safety can look like. With reallocating your funding to public waste, libraries, housing, neighborhoods, and health departments, you can give an opportunity to see how resources can revolutionize the safety of our city. Mayor Turner, not only do you have a responsibility to the present needs of community members who advocate for a police presence in their neighborhood, you also have a responsibility to Houstonians who implore you to imagine a future with alternatives to policing, who advocate for abolitionist values that make citizens feel safe, not by surveillance or fear, but by addressing solution-based, community-focused needs that are not reactionary to crime, but preventative to crime. These questions throughout the week regarding the police budget were not meant to be obnoxious or disrespectful, or not meant to micromanage the department. These questions genuinely stem from Houstonians wondering how hundreds of millions of dollars are going through a department that does not ensure our safety. I hope police budgets reflect the creativity and forward thinking that your city demands of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker.
Sophie Dolberg.
Sophie Dolberg. If you press *6, you can proceed. Sophie Dolberg.
Hello,
Sophie?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sophie Dolberg. I live in District B, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Houston Abolitionist Collective. I'm also a member of the Circle Coalition and Impact Fifth Ward. What has been revealed in the budget workshops is that our city departments are underfunded and being defunded year after year, while the police budget continues to increase. Public waste, library, housing, neighborhoods, health, and more department representatives have expressed their need for more funding and are forced year after year to cut programs and personnel that keep us safe. For example, our housing department is dependent on outside grants and funds, and the city contributes very little to the overall housing budget, which will decrease again this year. Last year, hundreds of residents asked the mayor and city council not to increase the police budget. The mayor and council refused to listen and consider the voices of their constituents and suggested we were too late. This year, the mayor has proposed to increase the police budget by $30 million more. We are asking you, mayor and city council, not to increase the police budget again. Funding the police does not decrease crime. Funding housing and social services will. Your constituents have spoken year after year. We want money to be allocated to services that genuinely benefit us. Amend this budget and fund solid waste, healthcare, artists, neighborhoods, and other departments that genuinely keep us safe. We are also asking for a more participatory and democratic process to determine the fiscal budget. Currently, the process gives little to no meaningful input to residents in your districts. Will you amend this proposed budget and choose a more equitable budget that will keep residents safe? And will you change the process by which the budget is passed to be more inclusive of your constituents? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Melissa Martinez.
Melissa Martinez. If you press *6, you can proceed. Melissa Martinez. Hello? Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Melissa Martinez. I'm Houston born and raised, and I'm a psychology student at University of Houston, resident at large in Houston, and I just want to express my questions and concerns about the City of Houston budget. So this year, I would like the city's investment in police to be decreased. I want that to be reallocated towards community infrastructure because, quite frankly, we do not need more surveillance and policing. As we've seen, that contributes to more harm than good. We need our communities to thrive, and the vulnerability of further criminalization. We need focus on public health. For example, how investing in mental health programs and divest from policing in these crises, such as how does the relative cost for the various mental health programs vary? Divest from HPD and invest in violence interruption programs through departments of neighborhoods or health departments, such as removing all mental health funding from HPD and putting those dollars under the jurisdiction of the health department. And I want to emphasize again, we do not need more surveillance and policing. I want to see my other fellow Houstonians to thrive and be empowered and feel safe, and again, divest and invest in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker,
Molly Cook.
Molly Cook. If you press *6, you can proceed. Molly Cook, *6.
Are y'all able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the council. As always, grateful and proud to be able to participate in this process. I'm calling this morning. My name is Molly Cook. I'm a public health nurse and emergency room nurse and a member of Stop Texas I-45. But this morning I'm speaking as a supporter of the Houston Abolitionist Collective. Vote no on any budget that increases the already absurdly large allocation to policing. Vote no on any budget where the alternatives to policing are still housed within the police department. A mother of a pregnant woman called me while I was on the charge nurse phone the other day working, and she was begging me for appropriate resources for her pregnant daughter so that she could get off of meth and deliver a healthy baby. The only thing I could recommend is my ER, which we know is a temporary solution for mental health issues and crises. All we offer people in Houston is the ER in jail in so many circumstances. And I feel this lack of resources every single day. It makes my job futile and contributes to my burnout. My biggest threats to safety are road deaths and the environmental hazards around us. The answers to crime is not more punishment. And just like in healthcare, the true cure for disease is prevention. And prevention is only possible through policy change. Please move funding around away from policing and into mental health solutions, correcting the environmental hazards that threaten us, and making our city actually a safer place to live. Vote no on any budget that increases the already absurdly large allocation to policing. Vote no on any budget where the alternatives to policing are still housed within the police department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker,
Amanda SHIH.
Amanda Shee.
Good morning, our elected officials. We are your neighbors, your constituents. Over the past weeks, I've seen my Houston neighbors dedicate thousands of hours to reach out to fellow Houstonians to gather opinions, provide tools for articulating ideas, as well as make the city budgeting process more accessible to both like-minded and opposing individuals. They have worked tirelessly to lift up a diverse set of voices. I am here to reverberate the following. We want a transparent and equitable participatory city budgeting process. You've heard from us. We want to put in the time to have a voice in the city budgeting. For each one of us that are able to make it on the call here today and last week, there are hundreds, if not thousands more teachers, mothers, fathers, health professionals, social workers, community developers, all needing more support and wanting a voice. We need to see staff from the city assigned and dedicated to this process, and we want to help build on the momentum of this year. We'll be back regardless. Number two, we need ARPA funds applied towards recovery from the impact of COVID-19 as intended. As we all know, the pandemic is not over. The city is still recovering from Harvey. We have yet to understand the magnitude of the impact of the pandemic on our local businesses, the arts, the education and housing of our youth, and those that care for them. We will need to innovate to fill the growing gap in community resources for our neighbors and families. Using the funds to pad the police budget is not innovative. Number three, invest in our communities. Mayor, I've heard you say that we are the hometown of George Floyd and we need to do better. I agree. I humbly feel that naming things after him and police reform are not enough. Our city is resilient, yes, but it's a delicate ecosystem. We are spraying more pesticides when we should be investing in the health of our soil. Council members, we are asking you to listen to your department heads, each of whom have articulated clear, proven community programs that need more investment. I personally was very moved by Health Department Director Williams to express efficacy of programs like My Brother's Keepers, Reentry, and Seed to Succeed, and yet their limitation is due to lack of budget.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker,
Bridget Murray.
Bridget Murray. If you press *6, you can proceed. Bridget Murray, *6. Bridget Murray. Bridget,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, for giving us an opportunity to share information from the District B Clean Initiative's priorities. We want the city to be clean, and stop illegal dumping in District B. District B has the most illegal dumping in the city, and it continues to get worse. While there may not be one solution to prevent illegal dumping, there are plenty of ways the City of Houston can help combat the issue. Technology coupled with process changes can significantly reduce illegal dumping in District B and throughout the city. A waste disposal program has to be simple and accessible to everyone. We must focus on reducing barriers to properly dispose of waste. Some of the ideas that we would like to propose today as you are considering your budget: create an enterprise fund allowing solid waste to collect a fee from residents, a maximum fee, if I might add, of $1 for residents and businesses. Imposing a trash fee of no more than $1 will help build the capacity of the solid waste department to improve services to Houston residents by removing the barriers that make it difficult for residents to dispose of their trash properly. The additional funds could support and finance increases in the frequency of residential trash pickup, as well as increase the number of neighborhood depositories and recycling centers. Currently, there are only 6 depositories that service Houston's 669 square miles. The city could invest in more trash bins at a cost and pop-up depositories for contractors in areas under gentrification with a nominal disposal fee. We need to give people more options for disposing of their trash to keep them from illegally dumping. There are others on the call today that will share other priorities that we would like for you all to consider. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Aisha.
One second. Councilmember Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Murray, for calling in, and I totally agree. Something needs to be done in regards to assisting solid waste. My neighborhood alone, our heavy trash pickup is the first Wednesday of the month. Here we are almost at the end of the month, and I still have neighbors calling me wanting to know why the tree waste is still sitting in their front yards. My staff has been calling solid waste, has been calling solid waste. We're being told that it'll be next week. It'll be next week. Here we are almost at the end of the month, and tree waste is still sitting in people's front yards in my neighborhood. Something needs to be done. I know I appreciate you mentioning that enterprise fund. I know that would help with the $80-some million that solid waste currently gets from the general fund, which I'm hoping that money then would be used for public safety, hopefully hiring more police officers and actually having an enterprise fund for solid waste. And you know, I'm working with the mayor, I'm working with my colleagues to see what we can do because solid waste needs help. We're constantly getting phone calls here in the neighborhood, not just in my neighborhood, but all over the district, that their heavy trash has not been picked up. So hopefully we can address this at this budget. Thank you.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Murray, for coming in and just sharing the recommendations that the District B Environmental Justice Team came up with. We know the dumping is very bad in the district, and, you know, the mayor is his priority, and we're doing everything we can to tackle the issue. As I ride my bike in the neighborhood, I see 2 and 3 piles on one block. And so I'm committed to continue to work with you guys to address this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Aisha Muzaffar.
Aisha Muzaffar. If you press *6. Aisha Muzaffar, *6. Aisha Muzaffar. Okay, next speaker.
Christopher Rivera.
Christopher Rivera, *6. Christopher Rivera.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, well, thanks again. My name is Christopher Rivera, and I work with the Texas Civil Rights Project and the Houston Abolitionist Collective, and we need council members to vote no on a budget that does not create or offer alternatives to policing. Police are not the solution, and people often feel unsafe in the presence of police. Houston is facing 2 major public health issues and safety issues that exacerbate are exacerbated by the pandemic, and these ongoing crises make reinvestment even more urgent and critical. There's an eviction crisis that is affecting our community, with 17,000 people expected to be evicted from their homes. And Houston leads the nation with the highest rate of uninsured people in the United States, with nearly 1 in 5 Houstonians lacking access to healthcare, which totals nearly 1.4 million Houstonians, according to the Census Bureau. We recommend taking a quarter of the police budget and allocating those resources to the Housing and Community Development Department. Here are a few recommendations on where the divestment from the Houston Police Department can occur. You impose a hiring freeze or on ununiformed police officers in 2022, cut all unfilled positions from the budget, cancel professional liability insurance for individual police officers, completely remove funding from police who patrol the metro, cut funding from auto dealers and licensing from the police department, completely stop funding termination pay for both classified and civilian police officers, which is redundant. Who gets paid to get fired? That's ridiculous. Cut funding for pension obligation bonds. We also recommend that Houston divest and reinvest half of the police budget and put that into the health department. Here are a few recommendations on where to divest from the police department. Cut the overtime budget for both civilian and classified police employees. Suspend cadet classes until training and recruitment have been overhauled. End maintenance for militarized equipment and phase out mounted patrol. End the use of police dogs and canine units. This is really important. Stop funding militarized training programs. How can we train the police to treat citizens as enemy combatant? That's ridiculous. I don't know why we even do that. Stop funding police overtime. Stop buying so-called less lethal weapons and ammunition. And those are just some ideas. We also oppose the expansion of mental health response teams that tie police to mental health responders, such as CRT, CROT, and DART. We advocate for non-police mental health wellness response teams like CAHOOTS. The CAHOOTS program dispatches crisis workers who de-escalate situations with nothing more than their training, mental health guide, and a local crisis intervention resources. All this is done without police intervention and without firearms. The CAHOOTS program saves the city of Eugene, Oregon, an estimated $8.5 million in public safety spending annually. So please oppose the current proposal for 30 more additional dollars to police and survey and criminalize the community of Houston. We don't need that. People don't feel safe. And I just wish council members and the mayor were more enthusiastic to address divestment as they are with the solid waste issue. Please do your job. Listen to us. Divest and reallocate this money into the public good.
Fired.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Jason Oliver.
Jason Oliver. Jason Oliver, if you press *6, you can proceed, Jason.
Yes. Good morning. This is Jason Oliver. Good morning, everyone. I live in District G again this year, alongside dozens of people on this call and hundreds of people who have emailed and spoken during public comment in previous years, if not thousands, right? I ask that you vote yes on a budget that increases our investment in non-policing community services. I ask that you vote no on any budget that increases the allocation for policing. It is fiscally irresponsible, as the controller and director tell us we may face revenue shortfalls in the future. We also see some legislation that will cause problems for us in the future. And we, like, this continues to be an issue. HPD takes up a significant portion, and that an increasing portion of our general funds, while we see other departments shrinking, despite the fact that they have clear ties to our public safety. We need to give Houstonians a fair choice for public safety. It shouldn't just be, do you want safer communities? Police, yes or no? It should be, do we want safer communities? How about we fully fund complete communities? How about we fully fund Hire Houston Youth, or expand these programs? So I also want to ask for a transparent and equitable participatory budgeting process where the workshop timeline begins earlier, like it did last year. Also, this is listed as the second budget workshop. I want to ask when the first budget workshop was. People want safety. We agree. We also want safety. We should not be increasing HPD's police force when they're already an outside portion of personnel and they're dealing with issues that don't deal with community safety. They spend too much time dealing with traffic stops or dealing with dealing with car theft, right? These are important issues, but not things that need to fall under the purview of the police. Something needs to be done about solid waste. This is what Councilmember Gallego said. More police officers will not get the trash picked up. Hire people to pick up the trash, right? Police don't give people housing. They harass and arrest people for loitering and trespassing. This is documented. There aren't social workers or therapists, but we have people who are. You're expanding MCOT. It's a good program. We like it. We want you to take the money, put into certain other correspondent programs to invest in programs like MCOT. We hope that you will listen to us this year and really change the budget. Like this is a moral document. It shows our priorities, and we look forward to seeing a changed budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next speaker, Saba Blanding.
Saba Blanding. If you press *6, you can proceed. Saba Blanding.
Good morning. How are y'all doing today?
You're fine.
Good. My name is Saba Blanding. I'm a resident of District I. I'm a volunteer with the Grassroots Law Project, and I am a member of the Houston Abolitionist Collective. I am also a graduate of the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work, a member of Trinity Episcopal Church, and a mother of 2 amazing kids. I want to start by echoing the words of Jason Oliver about the budget being a moral document showing where our priorities are. The issue of Houston is not an issue of scarcity, it's an issue of priorities. What has been revealed in the budget workshops is that our city departments are underfunded and are being defunded year after year, while the police budget continues to increase. Public waste, library, housing, neighborhoods, health, and many more department representatives have expressed the need for more funding and are forced year after year to cut programs and personnel that keep us safe. The Anti-Gang Office, a program that helps prevent violence before it happens, one of the most rewarded in the nation, does not have enough counselors in schools or enough staff. In a recent survey of unhoused individuals, 15% of respondents said that their current situation was a result of the pandemic. Houston is second in the nation in evictions. We do not have adequate funding for emergency first responders programs such as MCOT, which has been emphasized before, to respond to the needs of the 4th largest city in the country. There's not enough funding for solid waste, as we hear in every meeting of the city council. OVO needs 30 to 37 compliance specialists, but the current budget only allocates enough funding for 7, and only 5 positions are currently filled. This directly threatens the health and safety of every Houstonian. There have been many of us that participated in last week's budget committee meetings, as well as calling in throughout the year calling for a fundamental shift in the way the city funds safety. To quote Commissioner Rodney Ellis, "Progress has been slow, but we cannot be deterred. With persistent effort, these unjust systems can be changed by the people to advance holistic community well-being and safety. The scale of our solutions must match the scale of the problem we face." I would like to clarify that these statements are not about Chief Finner or any individual officer. They are about the system of policing and incarceration. They are about the prioritizing of that police system over the fundamental needs of other city departments. Please vote on a budget that does not create please vote no on a budget that does not create alternatives to policing outside of the police department. To quote Patrice Cullors-Brignac on why we do not need reform but abolition, reform implies the system is broken and needs to be fixed. Abolition understands that the system is working exactly as designed and that we need a new system. The system is working exactly as designed. We need a new system. According to the proposed budget, our elected leadership's priority is simply overfunding the police. I believe our priorities should be solving problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Tahira Raza.
Tahira Raza. You press *6, you can proceed. Tahira Raza. Tahira Raza, *6. Tahira Raza. Next speaker.
Stephanie Villanueva.
Stephanie Villanueva. If you press *6, you can proceed.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So my name is Stephanie Villanueva, she, her, hers, from District I in the East End /Magnolia Park area. and I'm speaking on behalf of the Houston Abolitionist Collective and Houston DSA. I am also a graduate student at the UT Health School of Public Health. And I actually wanted to talk about how yesterday, Mayor Sylvester Turner, you did talk about George Floyd and the memory and the fact that he was killed by police. And I also was in another meeting the same day where we recognized the memorial of the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's killing. And I got really emotional at the other meeting. Whenever you were speaking, Sylvester Turner, at the meeting yesterday, it didn't hit me. Why? Because I feel like you're trying to recognize the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd, but you're not doing anything to actually prevent deaths like George Floyd from happening. And so I wanted to highlight that. And then another thing is that, for example, there are major cities like Houston, New York, and Los Angeles that have defunded the police. So I wanted to make clear that I support defunding HPD. For example, New York, they cut their police spending by $282 million. Los Angeles cut $150 million. So if it can be done at those cities, it can be done in Houston as well. Some things that can be done is eliminating cadet classes, trimming overtime, cutting mounted patrol. I also wanted to highlight that HPD did kill 4 people this year, from what I know. And then I wanted to recognize Nicolas Chavez, who was killed by HPD as well last year. And so I also wanted to highlight that, I think it's disrespectful that we're here trying to tell you what we think about the budget, and none of the people in the council and the mayor are trying to talk to us about it. You just tell us thank you and that's it, and that's disrespectful. Solid waste, people keep calling saying that there's issues with solid waste. Maybe the solution is to defund the police and give more money to public health, solid waste people that are really going to help our community. And so that's what I wanted to say. I hope that you change the process with the city secretary. A lot of us signed up and never got a follow-up email. And so I participated in the Austin budget process last year, and every time we signed up, we got a follow-up email, and we didn't. And I think it's important the city secretary changes that and make sure that they follow up, confirming that we signed up, as well as give us information on how to call in.
Your time has expired.
Next speaker.
Next speaker, Cassie Manley.
Cassie Manley. If you press *6, you can proceed. Cassie Manley. If you press *6, you can proceed. Cassie Manley. Next speaker.
Leanne.
So Cassie, yeah, Cassie, you called Cassie Manley?
Cassie Manley.
Yes, we are asking for a fair choice for public safety.
1 second. Are you Cassie?
Yes.
You're not Cassie.
Are you really Cassie?
We're asking for.
Are you Cassie Manley?
Speaking, Cassie asked me to read this.
Nope, I'm sorry. We do not allow that. That's what I figured. Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker.
Leanne Chong.
Leanne Chong. Leanne Chong. If you press *6, you can proceed. Leanne Chong. *6. Leanne Chong. Next speaker.
Michelle Stav.
Michelle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, this is Leanne. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is Leanne Chong.
Yes. Hi, my name is Leanne Chong, and I am a visual artist and resident of District H. I am asking if you, my elected representatives, are willing to present an amendment to the mayor's budget to ensure that American Rescue Plan Act funds
are provided to the Houston Arts Alliance to replace lost hotel occupancy tax revenue. This would be to close the hot revenue shortfall, a $16 million gap for the last fiscal year and this upcoming fiscal year, to restore funding to fiscal year 19 levels. The City of Houston should stimulate and continue to invest in artists and smaller arts organizations with annual budgets under $10 million. These entities are struggling due to the pandemic budget shortfalls, and according to McKinsey report on small business recovery, will not be able to fully recover until 2025.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker,
Michelle Stav, S-T-A-V.
Michelle Stav. Michelle Stav. If you press star 6. Michelle Stav. Michelle. Next speaker.
Caroline Duble, D-U-B-L-E.
Caroline Duble.
Hi. Yes, this is Caroline Duple. Good morning. I reside in District I. I'm the political director at AVOW, so I work in reproductive rights and abortion access as the Texas legislature. As I'm sure y'all know, our state legislature has gutted our reproductive rights and also emboldened anyone to carry guns without a permit, removed labor union protections, and so much more. What I'm trying to say is we cannot rely on our current state leadership to come up with creative policy solutions to our problems. And I'm hoping that we can start turning to you all for this. Now more than ever, we need local leaders who are not just maintaining the status quo, but who are willing to make history by creating true democratic processes to work with community members towards a vision of an actually safer Houston. Unfortunately, more police does not mean more safety. I wish it were that simple, but as policy experts and leaders, y'all know that nothing ever is, and you all can be better leaders than that. Houstonians would jump at the opportunity to collaborate with you, to come up with something better, but you continue to deny us the opportunity. You've got tons of speakers here today who took off of work and canceled plans to be here. But because so much of this budget is allocated towards HPD, this really deserves more community input than y'all have allocated for, especially considering how many people spoke last year against the HPD budget increases, who were told that they simply got involved in these conversations too late to have their input taken seriously. The city should have worked harder to provide weekend and evening options so that Houstonians could have an accessible opportunity to provide input on their budget, not yours, theirs. During the budget workshops last week, it came up over and over again that there are critical programs that are being underfunded. The public health director himself admitted that we are woefully behind in addressing Houston's high maternal mortality rates. Also during those workshops, Councilmember Martin kept stressing how, good looking and nice HPD Chief Troy Finner is, as if this issue is personal and about individual police officers. But we're here to tell you that it's not. This is an institutional problem. And the numbers tell a more important story than how cool of a guy HPD officers are. So, like the vast majority of speakers here today, I am asking you to vote no. Please do not defund our communities anymore. Please do not increase HPD's budget, at least without garnering more comprehensive community input.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next speaker.
Jody Sabino.
Jody Sabino. If you press star 6, you can proceed. Jody Sabino, star 6. Jody Sabino, star 6.
Hi, good morning. This is Jody Sabino. I would like to echo what the speakers before me have said, and please defund police and fund community infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker is a duplicate because the next speaker, Cassandra Jones.
Cassandra Jones. If you press star 6, you can proceed. Cassandra Jones.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Cassandra Jones, and I live in District D, and I'm an organizer with BLM-HTX and National Wire Collective. I ask that you vote no on any budget that increases funding for police and invest in our communities. Throughout the budget workshops, we heard department heads clearly articulate that they do not have enough money to do their best work and benefit of Houstonians. Increasing the city budget for police instead of investing that money in departments that have expressed need is a clear statement that increased militarization of our city is more important than health, education, solid waste, housing, infrastructure, and more. Is that the statement you want to make with your current positional power? If not, you must vote no this year on any budget that increases funding for police and commit to an annual decrease of police funding and reallocation to community support. In addition, Chief Finner has stated that he does not support HB 1900, which would penalize cities that adopt budgets that decrease police. That bill is now currently awaiting Abbott's signature, and you know that increasing a budget this year would mean that decreasing it in the future would be exceedingly difficult with its passing. Is this the decision you want to make with your current positional power? If not, you must vote no this year on any budget that increases funding for police and commit to an annual decrease of police funding and reallocation to community support.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker.
Rebecca Selly.
Rebecca Sally. If you press *6, you can proceed. Rebecca Sally, *6. Rebecca Sally. Rebecca, *6. Next speaker.
Gloria Zentino.
Gloria Zentino. You can press *6 and proceed. Gloria Zentino.
Can y'all hear me? Morning.
Good morning.
This is cool. Morning, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm sorry. Yes, we can.
Okay. Morning, Mayor. Morning, council members. This is Gloria Zenteno, founder and president of Barrio Dogs and the co-founder of Unity for a Solution. I'm here to discuss the importance of properly funding BARC during the next budget cycle and updating the Houston City ordinances related to animals. We have a short window to keep Houston from becoming worse than it is with respect to animal cruelty and basic pet neglect. I urge you to take my testimony seriously. I have been involved in animal welfare for the city of Houston for over a dozen years. I can honestly say that our city is on the brink of crisis related to loose dogs and cats, neglect from owners, and serious safety and health issues. The staggering number of loose dogs and cats is unreal. Ask any Houston resident and they will tell you a time when they thought their safety was an issue because of a pack of loose dogs. Loose dogs and cats are expensive for any city. They cause vehicular accidents and are incredibly costly to remove and dispose of carcasses. Most recently, I learned that BARC has only one field member for every 25,000 residents. So how is it possible for BARC to get a handle on the amount of loose and loose-owned animals in Houston when they are so outnumbered? But loose animals in the city is only one issue. The City of Houston ordinances have not been updated for many years. All other large cities within Texas have the most up-to-date ordinances that follow successful trends in the sheltering industry throughout the United States. Houston is the fourth largest city in the nation and yet is still using the antiquated method of licensing and tagging a pet versus microchipping. I have been working with Texas Humane Legislation Network and Councilmember Alcorn on potential ordinances that will bring Houston to the modern world and could save money in the long run. We have data that supports our pet homelessness crisis. In 2018, UT Houston did a UT Health survey where they surveyed the entire area of Houston, Harris County. They found that stray dogs was the top concern over crime, pollution, traffic. This was validated 8 years later again in 2018, which they found strays as the #1 concern in the city of Houston. You can ask a lot of folks in Harris County how many strays there are. Some will say 200,000, some will say 1 million, some will say 2 million, but what is not debated is that this is a serious issue. I applaud Councilmember Gallegos and Councilmember Travis for recently discussing that their constituents want to work on reducing the number of loose dogs and cats in the city and properly fund BARC to reduce these numbers, as well as working on community education and citations.
Your time
I still remember we are at the critical tipping point. Please, thank you for this consideration.
Thank you very much. Hold on one second. Councilmember Gallegos.
Thank you for your call, Mayor. I just found out this past weekend from a constituent of mine that was walking her little dog along Wayside in front of a bakery, and a pit bull attacked her little dog and unfortunately killed her little dog. And the constituent actually started wrestling with the pit bull. I mean, she was trying to protect her little dog, and she yelled out, and the security guard there at the bakery finally helped and pulled out his gun and shot the pit bull. This is what we're talking about is the quality of life in certain neighborhoods in our city. Again, like I've stated in the past, when someone goes for a walk, why do they have to carry a big stick to protect themselves from a stray dog? Something needs to be done. We need to be providing low cost or free spay and neutering to economically disadvantaged communities, because once again, when someone has to pay their rent or their light bill or their gas bill or put shoes and clothing on their kids, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to take their dog to get spayed and neutered. So we need to provide low cost or free spay and neutering to economically disadvantaged communities, and that way the pet owners will do the right thing and get their dogs spayed and neutered to hopefully to correct this in regards to these strays roaming the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, and I agree, and I've asked Tina Pines to put forth an initiative to present to me to address that, and I know that is a strong concern of yours, Councilmember Gallegos. So I agree with you on that. Councilmember Travis.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I want to thank the speaker for coming forth today. Too often we get a lot of this on social media, but not enough people come before council to express their concerns regarding bark and the animal population and the issues contained therein. So I just want to thank the speaker for coming in today and shedding more light on it. And I think if people look around, they'll see this truly is a serious problem, not only for the people that it affects, as Councilman Gallegos just said, but also for the animals themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Belinda Taylor.
Belinda Taylor, if you'll press *6, you can proceed. Belinda Taylor, *6. Belinda Taylor, *6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. My name is Belinda Taylor, and I am a resident in District B, and thank you in advance for allowing me to speak about the council member Tasha Jackson's District B Clean Initiative. Our passion is to assist and aid in underprivileged children, seniors, and veterans. We are faced with an uncharted global pandemic called COVID-19, which has affected millions of people. We have continued the journey to aid and help those in need since Hurricane Allison in 2001, Hurricane Katrina in 2005, Hurricane Ike in 2008, the tax flood day in 2016, Hurricane Harvey in 2017, the hailstone in 2019, Storm Laura and the coronavirus in 2020, and the Arctic winter storm that we had in 2021. And because of these weather storms and hurricane disasters, it has left many communities faced with illegal dumping, backed up drainage, unclean air, unclean water, and healthy homes with clean communities. I honestly believe that it's very essential, necessary, and an urgency for the District B Clean Initiative to be funded to promote a cleaner and safer communities that allow us, we the people, to help with the Keep the Houston Beautiful program by increasing the frequency of residential trash pickup, create an enterprise fund allowing solid waste to collect a fee from residents, maximum $1 trash fee for residents and businesses, and increase the number of neighborhood depositories and recycling centers. In my closing, I would like to thank you for listening and leave a Greek word with you to adopt, which means maraki, which means to do something with total love and pure soul. It is leaving a little piece of yourself in your created work to help keep Houston beautiful. And we, the people of District B, would like to say that when the storms do come, we will rise up to be stronger and strengthened. We will triumph over with victory. We'll be overcomers with the challenges that we are faced with. We will rise up against any devastation, and we will be motivated and mobilized to use the resources that we have to make our city stronger to serve by helping our neighbors. Thank you, Mayor and the council.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I will intimate that in order for a fee to have a meaningful impact, it's going to have to be much higher than $1. Quite frankly, you're looking at a minimum of something in the range of anywhere between $7 to $10 a month in order for it to have a meaningful impact beyond what we are doing.
Can I say something else?
Sure.
I agree with you. Something that my husband teaches us in our congregation. We pay for what we get. And I just want to say that I'm tired of our cities being devastated and being left with unclean air and water. I'm an asthmatic patient, and so I know what it means to suffer, to breathe in unclean air, and to drive through my community and not be able to get to my home on this Monday. It took me about 8:15 before I can get into my home, because in that subdivision, that entrance, it flooded, and something needs to be done. So, Mayor, if there's a higher price that we need to pay, then we need to do it to make sure that we keep our city beautiful. Thank you for listening to me.
And on the flooding issue, I will tell you that if we got our proportional share of the mitigation, the HUD mitigation dollars that the federal government has provided, that would equate to about $1 billion coming to the city of Houston, specifically for infrastructure needs. And that would go a long way in addressing the needs, not only in District B, but across the city as a whole. So, and thank you for coming before us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Lauren Crane.
Lauren Crane, if you'll press *6, you can proceed. Lauren Crane, *6. Lauren Crane, *6. Lauren. Next speaker.
Analis Palomo.
Analis. Where's that?
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Nayolis Palomo. I am a resident of District G, and I am speaking today on behalf of the Houston Abolitionist Collective and the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. What has been revealed in the budget workshops is that our city departments that tackle the root causes of complex societal problems continue to be extremely underfunded, while the police department's budget, an entity embedded in racism and with blood on their hands, is continuing to increase. How many more lives do we have to lose at the hands of the police? How many more lives have to be deported, traumatized, and separated for y'all to get it? As a social worker, I know that support systems, community services, quality housing, and jobs are the systems that keep our community safe, not law enforcement. Yet, Mayor Turner is once again proposing to increase the police budget by $30 million for the fiscal year 2022. We ask Council not to increase the police budget and don't vote on a budget that does not create alternatives to policing, and instead amend the police budget to fund healthcare, artists, neighborhoods, and departments that keep us safe. We demand for more than $30 million from HPD's proposed budget to be defunded and reallocated to comprehensive public housing, mental health, and non-police first responder programs outside of HPD, such as the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team program, also known as MCOT. We can do this by imposing police hiring freeze by $15.5 million, cutting the police overtime budget in half by $7 million, and cutting on field positions by $12 million. I want you all to know that we are going to be here year after year until we're able to fully defund the police and reinvest in our communities. Because we know that we are on the right side of history. We know that our collective well-being depends on all of us being healthy and safe, not criminalized and dehumanized. We are building a collective movement that is here to stay, and we will vote anyone out that does not prioritize our demands and elect people that center the healing and true liberation of our people. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Dolores Lozano.
Dolores Lozano, if you press *6, you can proceed. Dolores Lozano. Dolores Lozano, *6.
Hello, this is Dolores.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, Mayor Turner and council members. Thank you for your time this morning. Again, my name is Dolores Lozano. I'm a first-generation graduate and resident of District I. I'm part of Houston Coalition for Equitable Development Without Displacement, among many other organizations, and here today supporting the Houston Abolition Collective. In case you missed it, we are facing two major public health and safety issues that have been exacerbated by the pandemic. With that and more, I can't find a reason for HPD to be rewarded handsomely. The city of Houston can reallocate funding from the police department and reinvest that money into programs that will better serve the community. I'm here to ask you to move funding around and support our future generation of Houstonians, our children. Children in our schools who have continued to be pushed through adversity while tagged as gang members by officers. Our children deserve a better future and better schools. I can go on and on about removing police from schools, but I'll save that for another day. I echo the recommendations that Christopher Rivera made earlier on how Houston can reinvest half of the police budget elsewhere. And like Jason said, more police won't pick up my trash. Again, this isn't an issue of scarcity, it's all about priorities. All of us giving public comment today prioritize being here, speaking up for our neighbors who could not be here because transparency and accountability are important. I ask that you align with and lean on the very people who elected you and divest from the Houston Police Department and invest in our community services. I ask that council members vote no on a budget that does not create alternatives to policing. Now more than ever, we must dedicate funds towards initiatives that will help Houston thrive, all of which HPD doesn't do. Thank you for your time and allowing me to address you all today. That concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Whitney Collins.
Whitney Collins, you press *6. You can proceed. Whitney Collins, *6. Whitney Collins.
Good morning. This is Whitney Collins Sanchez. I am a volunteer with Grassroots Law Project, a graduate of the University of Houston, a small business owner, and a mother of 2. I'm here today to ask you to reject any budget that increases funding for HPD again this year. The funding for HPD increased last year already to $1 billion, and they're proposing another $30 million. That would be more than 30% of the safety budget going to HPD alone. That's a larger percentage than many other big cities like Los Angeles and New York. This is unnecessary. And budget workshops conducted by Houston Abolitionist Collective show that our city departments are underfunded, as has been expressed. And you've heard many people speaking today about this and about the fact that our funds are being misused, that people are in need of solid waste pickup. They're in need of pets being picked up and dealt with. They're in need of free spay and neuter. Those are services that could be funded easily by just reducing police budget, or at least not increasing the budget again this year. There are so many good initiatives that are put forward by many people who are volunteering their time. They're not paid to do this work, and yet they're here because they care, and they elected you. You need to be responding to these people. It's not fair for them to continue to speak and continue to express their hearts and use their intellect and their time and energy toward providing all of these alternatives. I mean, you've heard so many places that funding could be cut easily, and it's just not even being responded to at all. I think that the term defunding police has become this negative connotation. We've seen it just being used as such a negative talking point. Think about it as relieving the police of duties that they should not have, like mental health calls. They're not equipped for it. And it's unfair, honestly, to our police officers to put them on these calls when there are people who are equipped to do that are equipped to help and can do so in nonviolent means and by a way that honestly helps our community and keeps us safe. It's a gift to the police department to take that off of their hands and instead reinvest in your communities, put funding where it needs to be, and help people get health care, help people be housed again after they've lost everything in this pandemic and through all of these the storms and all of these natural disasters that our city has faced. It's very sad. It's very sad to see the state of our city decline in response to not having public services that are needed. And I think that we have the ability to just be creative, to rethink, to think outside of just increasing police budget year after year after year. It doesn't make sense. And so I ask for you to vote no on any budget that does not create alternatives to policing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Let me just say, I don't know if people are aware of the fact that we've already, the plan is to devote $25 million to crisis intervention for people who are suffering from mental behavioral health issues, homelessness, substance abuse, domestic violence situation. That plan was announced about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so if not longer. So And in terms of investing in communities, that's been an initiative of this city since I came in investing in communities that have been underserved and under-resourced. So those plans are already in place. And then hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent in the health department. And with respect to housing, maybe people do not know that this council several months ago passed an initiative that is putting more than $100 million, city funds, not federal dollars, in housing, and the goal to build about 2,000 single-family houses between now and the end of over the next 3 years. So we're talking about this council has already voted to put well over $100 million on housing, separate and apart from federal dollars. Hundreds of millions have been put in health. The Complete Community Initiative is specifically focused on neighborhoods that have been overlooked for decades. The Hire Houston program was affected during the coronavirus, but there are already about 6,000 job opportunities for this summer alone. All of these things are taking place already. They are occurring. Next speaker.
The next speaker, Madeline Chazon.
Madeline Chazon, star 6.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. So I had a different comment prepared, but I wanted to first address that a lot of the response that was provided to Whitney's lovely comment, I'm struggling to follow the pieces on how the money that has been allocated on paper is making it into the communities, particularly on the Complete Communities Foundation and the Complete Communities Initiative, looking to see how that money is trickling from city funds down into communities. So that's something that I would like to see more transparency on how that funding is going to make it, in the next 3 years, when we kind of anticipate that we won't see that funding for at least 4 to 5. I'd like to now read my prepared comment. My name is Madeline, and I am a constituent of District C. As the nation's 4th largest city and Texas's largest refugee resettlement city, I'd like to ask about the Office of New Americans and the Department of Neighborhoods. How can we better support these departments to ensure that all Houstonians have access to these resources? How can we make sure that those seeking a better life in Houston actually have a chance of finding it, rather than facing violence from the police similar to the violence that pushed them to leave their homes? The South Texas Office of Resettlement has resettled 7,000 people within the last 3 years, when the annual refugee cap has been at a historic low of 15,000 admitted annually. From my perspective in reviewing the budget and other public documents, Houston as a city is not prepared to scale with President Biden's increased presidential determination of 65,000 refugees admitted to the U.S. this year. Rather than spending over $900 million on police to respond to issues, how can we refocus that funding to prevent them? Reviewing the Welcoming Houston initiative, I'm particularly interested in learning more about the first goal, improve judicial access and fairness for immigrants. What does this mean? How are we measuring success? And to your point, how is that funding making it into communities? The New American Economy found that in 2019, immigrants in the Houston area were responsible for a quarter of the city's GDP. So please respect those efforts by investing in affordable and sustainable housing, workforce development, and please vote no on a budget that does not explore and create alternatives to policing outside of the police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Zoe Middleton.
Zoe Middleton, star 6. Zoe Middleton, star 6. Zoe?
Hello, Mayor and Council members. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, my name is Zoe Middleton, and I'm the Southeast Texas Co-Director of Texas Housers, and I also served on the Housing Stability Task Force with the Mayor and Judge Hidalgo convened last summer. I think we've already heard a lot from people about the need for a more participatory, community-rooted, language-accessible public process that works for all Houstonians, especially working Houstonians who aren't able to make a 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. public hearing. So I'll skip that spiel. And I wanted to share a few recommendations that I first sent to council members on May 17th. And before I do, I wanted to say that I know you're business-minded, and I know that the revenue cap is a constant restraint around the dais. So I want to be really, really clear and speak kind of the language that you speak as the financial manager of the city. and that is that increasing funding to HPD is inefficient. You don't produce the returns by increasing funding to HPD that create complete communities. And complete communities, as well as a host of other departments and initiatives, deserve to be propped up not simply with federal grants and not simply with philanthropic dollars and not simply with investments from oil and gas industry. So the list of alternatives for funding that I sent to the council members included providing a seed funding for a housing trust fund that will be matched with LIHTC and provide deeper subsidies. Add to the disaster housing fund that you created just a couple of months ago. I thought that was a brilliant idea, and it can help us fill the gaps in disaster so we're not as reliant on FEMA and waiting for reimbursement. We can, of course, always increase general funding to HCDB so that it has a ready-to-go crisis team so we don't get programs snatched back from the state. We can also develop a sustainable rental assistance fund. We know that we are already lagging behind when it comes to affordable housing. We're the second least affordable place to live for very low-income renters, and they're constantly on the brink, not even just during COVID. And so a sustainable rental assistance fund would be incredibly useful for the city. And finally, because unfortunately one of the enduring legacies of how the city dealt with COVID-19 is our eviction record, providing a right to counsel for all active COVID-19 evictions would only cost between $12 and $19 million and would provide enormous social returns. I sincerely hope you consider that last one is a major part of your legacy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Erica Hubbard.
Erica Hubbard, *6.
Hi.
Erica Hubbard, *6. Erica.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mayor Turner, thank you. Thank you for having me this morning. My name is Erica Hubbard, and I'm a concerned resident of District B, and I'm here to express my concerns over the solid waste budget. Many communities in District B and also in District D, where I grew up, are under siege by illegal dumpers, and we've been operating in this manner for decades. Fifth Ward, my current residence specifically, is experiencing a strong tide of gentrification. When you look at the piles, and while you see some mattresses and dressers, you see majority of building materials and tires dumped in ditches, blocking drainage. We have to think outside of the box, and we have to expand our depository system. 6 locations was probably enough in 2010, but if you look at the recent census data, our metropolitan population has swelled to 6.5 million people. We have to adjust to accommodate the growth. And let's be honest, we are behind in making these important investments in historically Black and brown neighborhoods. I'm here asking you to consider expanding the solid waste budget so that, number one, the department can provide monthly junk waste pickup. The every other month schedule, or all on the even months that they've been doing, is ineffective in our communities, and we need relief. Number two, I'm asking you to consider erecting temporary depository sites so that contractors can dispose of their building materials for a fee. Number three, I'm asking for competitive wages in solid waste to stop the turnover of drivers. I believe they have close to like 40 openings for drivers right now. All of what I'm proposing and what was asked before from the previous speakers about this topic can be paid for by assessing a fee on residential and commercial water bills that can go towards the enterprise fund. As previously mentioned, I know increasing a water bill is not a popular stance, but if that revenue is used towards improving the quality of life of residents who have been forced to look at illegal dumping, then the investment should be made for no other reason than equity. So those are my suggestions, Mayor Turner and the council. I hope that you take them under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next speaker. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, Erica, for coming and sharing your recommendations, and thank you for your just commitment for Fifth Ward. I know you've been working around dumping for quite some time, and so I really appreciate working with you and look forward to getting this situation taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Secunda Joseph.
Secunda Joseph, *6. Secunda Joseph, *6. Yes, we can hear you. Secunda?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna jump right in. First, I want to ask a question that Jason asked much earlier, and that was more about that was stated that was the second budget workshop. Can somebody answer, please? When was the first, or was that just a error? Please answer that question. Also, I want to comment on, Mayor Turner, you said, you mentioned all these things that been happening and said that these things have been happening since you've been elected. As a resident of Houston in District B, who also does community work, social services work in 5th Ward, Cashmere Gardens, 3rd Ward, this complete communities is not effective without funding behind it. Great idea, great stuff, sounds all good, but money has to be put behind, just like my brother's keeper. All these initiatives, if money is not coming down to the communities, it's not effective. I just heard, I had something else prepared, but also just heard with the last caller, she mentioned people are complaining about public waste and what's happening, and being a member of these communities all of my life, I'm aware of what is happening. I think that this increased budget, the money that we give to police every year, you may want to consider taking that $30 million or whatever that is and assisting so that we can take care of the trash and of the things that are happening in the city. But another thing I want to suggest is that when folks talk about defunding the police, it's not that the police are, which, right now the police are overfunded. Right now, the departments of the libraries, housing, we can continue to go on. These things are underfunded and have been underfunded for years and for decades. And we're asking you that this ends. The last thing I want to mention is just how we're constantly talking about mental health, and we're putting these programs under policing, which is unfair. Last year, I think it was 2020, there was a police officer that shot a person who was on their way to the Bentall Hospital to seek help. Right now, if I call somebody from one of my family members or a neighbor who is under mental health distress, a police is coming. And we know, council, that police officers kill, hurt, shoot more folks with mental health issues than any other people. It is dangerous, right? So we are asking that we fund. And can somebody please answer my question?
Again, let me just try to let me say it one more time. Is that the $25 million for crisis intervention over the next 3 years? That $25 million is primarily for counselors and clinicians. Okay, for counselors and clinicians to divert 911 calls and others from classified, from police officers, in order to have these teams made up of counselors and clinicians to address people who are in a mental crisis or homeless situation or substance abuse or domestic violence. That's what it's intended for. And I totally agree with you. With regards to complete communities, you need resources. And that's why we have been working not only with resources coming from the city, but also leveraging our resources with people in from the private sector, from financial institutions, nonprofits, a collaborative effort in order to address the needs within these communities. And you're also right. We're talking about underfunding that has occurred over the decades. And so, and yes, with respect to the revenue cap that we are underneath, please bear in mind that since 2015, the city has not been able, but for that, the city would have had access to $1 million. So yes, you are having to do a lot with the resources that we have, but we're working collaboratively to make that happen. And again, what I would say to you with regards to police, The city of Houston has about 5,300 police officers to cover 640 square miles. So when you compare the city of Houston's police department with other police departments of even comparable size, we need more police officers because people, like we heard on yesterday, people are wanting police officers to respond to concerns and needs also in their communities and their neighborhoods. So relatively speaking, we have 5,300 police officers. If you compare our number to Chicago, for example, they have over 12,000 police officers covering 275 square miles. We have 5,300 covering 640. New York, somebody mentioned New York. New York has well over 35,000 police officers. 35,000. We have 5,300. And with respect to the budget that's in place, the budget that's in place covers for a 6th cadet class in order to try to bring our numbers up slightly. And then bear in mind, we have police officers that are retiring every year. So we're trying to bring our numbers up slightly so we can have a net gain, not lose, not fall back, okay? And then it also covers an automatic 2% pay raise, 2%. That's what you have in the budget that is before us, over and above from last year. So I hear you on solid waste. The model that we have on the solid waste is not a good model because that we have more people moving into the city, more houses being constructed in the city, the routes are getting larger, okay? And our solid waste workers are competing, as the city is competing with the Targets, the Walmarts, all of these other companies right now who are yet in a position to pay more. We are working to try to be competitive. And then we have about 70 solid waste workers who are out right now on FMLA. So those are the things that we're working with, but collaboratively and working with community groups and others, we want to move. We want to address this situation. So we understand. I appreciate all the people who have called and appreciate your concerns, and we're going to try to work through it with you together. Okay. So thank you so much. Next speaker.
Vicki Martin.
Vicki Martin, star 6. Vicki Martin, star 6. Vicki Martin, star 6. Next speaker.
Catherine Allen.
Can you hear me?
Okay, was that Vicki?
Good morning, Mayor. Can you hear me okay? This is Vicki Martin.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for this platform. Good morning to you and council members. I had 3 points to bring up. Thank you, Councilwoman Tasha Jackson. You've been present and active in District B. My 3 concerns are, as far as the police budget, a recommendation would be that we have good police and we have not good police. So the recommendation would be for the officers that are found to not be good police, that it be attached to their pension, that if they do wrongdoings that raise to a level of that magnitude, that they know that they have a threat of losing their pensions. And I think they will make different decisions when they're out on the street. That's number 1. Number 2, as far as flooding, I just received my water bill increase, and it was not $5. It actually factored into $8.13. But to have a neighborhood that you couldn't leave out of or get to because of the flooding issues with the new development and things like that, and the property taxes going up, I felt some kind of way that I have an increase in my water bill, and we still have a flooding issue for the other drainage fee that's included in the water bill. And third, I would like to say, as far as the depositories in Northeast Houston, it's understaffed. So if the one on Kirkpatrick, so if they could put more staff, increase the hours, have reserved dumpsters, because what's happening is, I've used it myself, people are sitting in long lines because they're waiting for the dumpsters to be discarded and come back with a fresh dumpster. So if they can have some reserve dumpsters already on site and have 2 lines, one for tree waste and one for junk waste, then that way you can get through the line that you need to be in, because people are getting discouraged and they're turning around and they're dumping wherever they see an opportunity because of the problems with trying to get to the dumpsters and get it recycled. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And Councilman McCain.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I was in the queue on the last speaker just to ask a question about the budget, but I can hold my comment.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, miss you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we are taking a look at that depository issue as we speak. So thank you very much, Ms. Martin. Okay, next speaker.
Next speaker, Catherine Allen.
Catherine Allen, star 6. Catherine Allen, star 6. Catherine Allen, star 6. Next speaker.
Araceli Garcia.
Araceli Garcia, star 6. Araceli Garcia, star 6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Araceli, and I live in District H. I'm calling on City Council members to vote no for a budget that does not create alternatives to policing outside of HPD. HPD does not need more money. They don't need it for trash pickup, Councilmember Gallegos. Give more money to solid waste. Police don't need more COVID CARES Act money. We don't need another 50-person task force to create policy suggestions that add more money to the police budget that Mayor Turner likely won't even consider in the first place. Yes, I'm calling to defund the police, period. Why does police need a budget almost $1 billion? I heard what you said. You've allocated already tons of other money to other resources. Why can't we allocate more? Where does the crisis intervention money go? Is it part of the HPD $1 billion? Because as a Houston resident with a mental illness, I'd rather not ever be treated by a counselor that reports to police. The city of Houston has 124% the officers per capita as a state average. 110% of the officers per capita is the national average, and 66% the officer per capita of its peers, Chicago, and population across the country. We're only low on officers when you compare us to cities like Chicago, known for having more police violence. I'm asking y'all to please vote on a budget that reallocates funds for HPD on housing for our houseless folks, the health department, libraries, youth, family services. Increasing police size and training does not increase community safety. A study in the Journal of Experimental Criminology concluded that from 1971 to 2013 that found that increasing police department size has no effect on reducing crime. If you want to create a safer environment in communities, you have to start at the root. You have to start at the lack of resources. It's nonsensical to think more policing or more training will make us safer. How long will we call for reform when reform historically hasn't worked? As leaders of our city, we trust you to create changes that better serve our communities. We call on you to commit big changes for the betterment of most people. I believe we can build community-based interventions that address harm without police. Imagining a better world is free, but we call on you to use our tax dollars to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman McCain.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, and I believe you had already said this, but you know, we're hearing a lot of callers talking about the increase in HPD's budget, but my understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the large majority of the actual increase are non-discretionary contractual obligations that the city are mandated to pay. So for example, we have, you know, police officers are city employees, just like our other city employees, and we have contractual obligations that we cannot go back on in terms of pay, pensions, etc. Am I missing something with that?
That is correct. Just like that automatic 2% pay raise, that's automatic.
And that's the majority of what large majority, I don't have the percentage in front of me, I apologize, of this HPD increase, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, next speaker.
Kathy Gunter.
Kathy Gunter, star 6. Kathy. Kathy.
Good morning. Good
Yes,
morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good to talk to you again.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Hello?
Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can you?
We can hear you. She keeps doing that. Ms. Gonter?
Morning. Good morning. I keep saying hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
If you'll keep talking, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And Councilman, this is concerning the District B Clean Initiative priorities. And I would like to say that if we have to reduce some of the barriers that's outdated, just like some of the people spoke earlier, and some of the rules. In addition to the $1 max fee that we willing to pay, we were asking that you increase heavy trash schedules because they're not working for us. And also send out a text alert. Send out a text alert or email to residents when this heavy trash pickup time is occurring. And these fees should also not only be sent to residents, there need to be a fee included on our developers. The developers that's contributing to a lot of this illegal dumping. We don't want a blank check with no meaningful programs. Mandate the developers that start in a new subdivision and they got 25 houses or more, then they need to share in paying a substantial fee for their new community. And mandates on these family dollars. They need to pay some fees. Solid Waste has a poor policy that do not pick up on easements if they face a vacant lot. So if JoJo is dumping on Mr. Smith's lot and in front of Mr. Smith's lot and on the street, Mr. Smith been dead for 20 years, and they won't pick up in front of that vacant property. Those are some of the barriers that need to come down. They at the Northeast Station over here, Kirkpatrick, they ask the residents to break down furniture. If they don't break down the furniture, they can't take it to the depository. That's ridiculous. So some of the rules are old and outdated, and we're also asking for, to be open Monday through Friday. Many of your drivers are trained, and then they leave and go to Amazon because Amazon and these other people pay more. So they need a pay increase as well. Also, the software with 311 doesn't communicate with Solid Waste and the Department of Neighborhoods. So these are some of the things that we would like to see. We want to ask the directors to come to the table with you. Where are they? We don't never see the directors other than when we get ready to talk to the mayor, then the directors for Solid Waste and for the Department of Neighborhood, where are they? So we're asking for some accountability because they part of the problem as well, Mayor. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Julia Montiel.
Julia Montiel. Star 6, Julia Montiel. Julia Montiel. Julia. Next speaker.
Adriana Salazar.
Adriana Salazar. Adriana Salazar. Star 6, Adriana Salazar. Adriana. Next speaker.
That completes the list of speakers.
Okay, let me thank everyone that took the time to speak to us this morning. And
Hi, this is Katya. I was in the lineup earlier, but I think I missed my spot. I was wondering if I could still speak.
Give us the name again. I'm sorry.
It's at the top of it.
It's Katya, Katya Abazajian.
Yes, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to respond to the comments about the crisis intervention program that's going to be housed under HPD. We definitely, I'm with the Houston DSA and the Houston Abolitionist Collective. We definitely recognize that there are a number of programs that could be beneficial in taking responsibilities away from police officers. But I think the point that's being missed that multiple commenters have brought up is that we do not have trust in the current police department, and therefore any program that's housed under the police department, we view as a program that can be misused, including any technology for transparency and accountability that's housed under the police department is technology that can be misused. I think that we have made that point clear enough, and we are trying to collaborate with department heads and with the city council to find alternatives that will work, but it definitely feels like we're not being heard because continuously we're told that these solutions are already in place, that we have nothing to worry about, that you're doing your best, which I understand, but we are coming to the table and trying to work out solutions that will shift power away from the police department because there's a lack of trust there, and the lack of response from city council members is only increasing that lack of trust. A week ago, we sent requests for meetings to every single city council office and only received 1 or 2 responses back. And it's very clear that city council is out on these issues. We hear you that the per capita number of police officers in Houston is low, that you think that it's lower per square mile rather than in other cities. But in our opinion, as abolitionists, 5,500 police officers is 5,500 too many. And we're not even saying eliminate HPD tomorrow. We're saying let's find a pathway to redefine public safety in our city. And that is what I feel that we're not being heard on. We are coming to the table, as someone said earlier, people have put in thousands of work hours collectively to do the research, to understand abolition, to create alternatives to the current policing strategy. And again, we have not received any outreach from any council members, barring 1 or 2, about actually asking us for that research and speaking with us about what should be done. And we are not going to collaborate forever. We are the same people who organize protests.
Well, let me just say this, and we certainly welcome people's input, but there are many people out in this city who have also expressed their sentiment. They may not be on these calls, but in the town hall meetings, when I go out into the city, when I go out into these neighborhoods, whether they're in Acres Home, whether they're in Sunnyside, on the East End, in Fort Bend, people are saying they want to see more police. They want to see them in their neighborhood. So just because people are not, maybe not be responding to the people who are calling, it doesn't mean that we're not listening. And let's not assume that the people who are speaking are representative of everybody else in the city of Houston. You're entitled to your opinion and your views, and we are listening. But that doesn't mean that we are ignoring anyone. Just like on the crisis intervention and the reforms that we've put in place as it relates to the police department. That focuses on clinicians and counselors. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to call, but there are a lot of voices out there and people in the communities at these super neighborhood meetings, at these PIP meetings, and many other forums that are also expressing their views to the council members, to the district council members, to the at-large council members. So it's not just people who are taking advantage, and a lot of people out here who don't have the technology. Okay, so there are many ways that people are expressing their views. So let's not assume that just because people, may not be doing it the way certain people are coming in and voicing it, that this council, anyone is ignoring anybody, but we factor in a lot of input from many different sectors and within this city. Councilmember Travis.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I want to say that everything you just said is 100% correct. I agree with everything. Thank you for saying it.
Thanks. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say, for years, I've fought to reduce the budget for police and for criminal justice, around criminal justice reform. And since I've taken office, the residents in my district, I've realized that, police is essential to them feeling safe. Even though more police do not make us safe, but more services do and more resources do. And so, I'm hearing from folks in Acres Homes and the Northeast side that they need more police patrolling the neighborhoods. There's constantly police gang shootings. I was just visiting a senior's home and she had bullet holes in her. Well, the bullet just went through her house, and it could have hit her. And that's because gang members and drug dealers are just standing out at these corner stores. So I agree that we do need to, ramp up police in some of these neighborhoods and eventually, things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there are 2 people who we called, but they did not respond at the time. Christian Cabalaran.
Yes, Caballero. Hi, I've been waiting since 9 a.m., but speaking of having access to these meetings, especially remotely, it's a little difficult because the conference ID number that's provided on the Houston website is incorrect, and it wasn't for another speaker providing me the correct conference ID number. I would have continued to be on hold on some other line. But again, this is Cristian Caballero with Texas Appleseed, also with the Right to Justice Coalition and also the Home Coalition, among other many coalitions and community groups. And I would like to echo the sentiments of other advocates and community members calling for a more transparent, inclusive, equitable, and transformative process with the city budget. And I urge all of you to prioritize the expansion of funds to social services and community-based programs. Not only does our current crisis require the shifting of budget priorities, but it also demands your responsibility to meeting the needs and sustainability of the community, especially in serving and protecting the most vulnerable who desperately need your leadership and support. Through the various coalitions that we are part of, we definitely have signed on to a lot of letters with a list of demands and recommendations, and we're happy to speak with any of you to go into further detail of those. So feel free to reach out to myself or any other member of the Right to Justice Coalition. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Justin Glasper. Justin Glasper. Justin Glasper, star 6. Justin? Okay. Is there a motion to close this hearing?
Move.
Aztec Tatum, move.
Yep.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the hearing. Any objection? Chair is not in the motion is granted. All right then. Let me be brief on the mayor's report. Let me just say, let me thank all of the council members who signed on to the letter to GLO, asking them to reconsider and to redo their matrix. There's just no way on the $4.2 billion of HUD mitigation funds that you can exclude the city of Houston and not give one dime. Those are infrastructure dollars. That's almost like saying to us, Harvey did not occur.
Right.
And so I appreciate all of the council members signing on to it. There are $4.2 billion. We're simply asking for our proportional share. And what that would mean about $1.1 billion coming to the city of Houston, $1 billion coming to Harris County, and then there's still $2 billion left in infrastructure for other parts of the region and of the state. But we've experienced a lot of rain just over the past 14 days, and still rain it will be coming. And then we're about to approach hurricane season. So so let me just ask GLO to reconsider, and the best way to do it. And I want to thank the Harris County commissioners, because the county judge and all 4 of the county commissioners signed on to the letter. So this is one of those times when every city council member and every Harris County commissioner signed on to the same letter saying to, in this case, the GLO, please redo, reevaluate, and give the Houston and Harris County a proportional share of the $4.2 billion for infrastructure, okay? For infrastructure to mitigate the risk of flooding. And we hope that they will do that. And I did have a conversation directly with the Secretary of HUD, Marsha Fudge, who made it very, very clear that before GLO can go forward, even on what they plan, that they would have to follow the amendment and come back to HUD, and HUD would have to sign off on it before they could even go further. So we asked them for a halt to be placed, and what the Secretary said to me, in effect, Mayor, you're getting what you want, because they've got to come back and get approval from HUD. And then they will look at it to see whether or not they're in compliance. But again, this is just one issue where it shouldn't be an issue at all between us and GLO, if they will simply look, Houston Harris County experienced a little more than 50% of the Harvey damages. And we just think it should be a proportional share. Councilman McCain.
Mayor, thank you and for highlighting that this is not a partisan issue. I think even our state legislative Harris County wide delegation, other than I think Briscoe Kane and one other member, also echoed concerns. I think we're seeing pretty much unanimous concern over this. His GLO, have you been able to speak with anyone at GLO? I had specifically asked their government relations team for a meeting and was told that they're too busy to meet right now. So I'm not sure who else is in communication with them, or if we're only able right now to speak with our federal agencies that are stepping in.
I have not had a conversation myself with any of them.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Right. Councilmember Kubash.
Mayor, I'm glad to see that all council members signed the letter and that all of us are unanimously in support. I was told by someone, an attorney here in Houston, that we didn't fill out the paperwork right, and neither did Harris County. I find that very hard to believe. So I just want to let you know, I have no idea how they're delaying this money to us. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I would tell you, I did hear that they provided two explanations. One is based on the project impact. So, for example, they would take take a project that we put forward and see how many people that project would benefit, and then they would divide it by the entire city population of 2.3. And so, when you do it that way, Harris County and Houston, from the very beginning, would score less, and that's what Commissioner Ramsey noted, and said that from the very beginning, it worked against Houston and Harris County, the way they set up their matrix. The other thing that they said to our people was that Houston had a tax base that they could come up with additional revenue by increasing their tax base, their property taxes, for example. Now who's going to go out there and do that? So that's somewhat surprising about increasing because we have the tax base and we can raise our property taxes. Really? The state has a revenue cap that's imposed on us, and then we have a revenue cap on top of that. So, I just think on balance, it is not a partisan issue. It need not be and what it's not. It's just an issue of being proportional representation of the $4.2 billion in HUD mitigation dollars that came to Texas because of the Harvey storm. And I think when areas are getting flooded, whether you're on the west end, whether you're on the north end, east, in the central part of Houston, and there are dollars that the feds have made available for infrastructure, then we need those infrastructure dollars in order to mitigate the risk of flooding. I mean, that's just, I don't care. When God decides to rain, he's not saying, where are the Republican areas, where are the Democratic areas, which areas are rich, which areas are poor. It just rains. And so we just need the infrastructure dollars. So hopefully GLO will quickly reconsider.
Thank you for that response.
Thank you. Councilman Alcorn.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that explanation. I tuned into the Russ Poppy, Commissioner Ramsey description of the scoring criteria and found it very helpful in my understanding of what happened. And we were definitely penalized. The more populous, cities and counties were penalized on this per capita cost per person helped and the per capita market value. Those two criteria really hurt us. And I know all of us have been going around to various community meetings saying, hold on, we're getting this money from the GLO. We're expecting this money from the GLO. This project's coming. And it was a very tough pill to swallow to see that headline last week. So I hope we have some success with HUD and the GLO in getting this turned around. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kamen.
Mayor, I had a question on a separate topic really quickly. You had mentioned at the beginning of the, prior to the public hearing, we'll be in person next week. I just wanted a few more details. I'm sure some colleagues would like some more details on that, even if it's offline. For example, if, what precautions are being made, given some may not be vaccinated or wearing a mask at that meeting.
Okay, and I will. But I will tell you for the community meetings, like the meetings that we have on Tuesday, or even when they're consolidated, those meetings will continue to be virtual for a time being until more people get vaccinated. Okay, until we have a more because that will be bringing people in, and you don't know who has been, who has not. So the Tuesday meetings, and even if they are consolidated the morning before, that portion will be virtual. Okay, community meetings will be virtual. The city council meetings, that will be in the chamber. And then I'll get back to you. We're kind of working out some things on that end.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate what you said about your conversation with Secretary Fudge, and just wanted to pick back up on the GLO very disturbing news that we got, and wonder, with the balance of funds, is there, I know that, as you explained, it's got to pass muster basically in Washington with HUD, but there is the balance of the dollars that were originally allocated to the state of Texas. So just wondering if you've got any further color or understanding on the timeline for those allocations, or if Secretary Fudge mentioned anything about how quickly they might act. Obviously, we're in hurricane season next Tuesday, the official one, and you know how urgent this is.
Well, what GLO announced an allocation right at $1 billion. What the secretary said, even with that, until they filed their amendment with HUD, that allocation cannot go forward without HUD's approval. Right. So even as it relates to that allocation, and then they have yet to receive, at least at the time that I talked with her on Monday morning, they had yet to receive GLO's amended application. And so amended plan. So they are waiting to get that, and then once they get it, they will start their review. My hope is that when you look at the total package of 4.2 billion, that there will be a proportional allocation to Houston, Harris County, which would be $2 billion of that coming, $1 billion to Harris County, $1 billion to Houston.
Well, it's just amazing that somehow the commissioner doesn't seem to understand the urgency of this, where, as pointed out, Commissioner Ramsey, the other commissioners at Harris County, I mean, up and down the elected food chain, we've got Congress people of both parties scratching their head, wondering what's going on here, and we're just a couple of days away of the legislative session ending. It's just unbelievable to me that we can't get off and running on.
Yeah, unfortunately, this will only delay the allocation of these dollars as well as the projects. So we need to move forward, because there is even after they filed their second amendment, there is a public comment period as well that is required. The Secretary made clear about that. There's a public comment period, and encouraged everyone to participate in that public comment period as well. So
the slow walking is just unbelievable, and bipartisan, up and down. It seems practically unanimous, except the outliers in the GLO. So let's continue to see what we can do.
Okay. And again, I extend my thanks to all of the city council members, and my thanks to all of the commissioners from Harris County who joined in on a joint letter, and my thanks to the members of the Harris County legislative delegation. Okay. All right. Briefly, EPA grant announced this awarding of $600,000 federal brownfield grants to a Houston coalition led by the Houston Land Bank. The funds will help transform vacant and underutilized properties for new community development. And it expands on the city's brownfield redevelopment program operated by the Houston Public Works. So that's good news. To the Houston Fire Department has received international recognition by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International as an accredited agency. Real proud of that. I want to give kudos to Chief Pena and to his team on that regards. The Houston Health Department, also congratulations to the Houston Health Department for earning another 5 years of national accreditation from the Public Health Accreditation Board. Congratulations to Director Williams and his team. We're still needing people to get vaccinated. That's important. Numbers are looking better in terms of those who have gotten vaccinated, but still roughly 50% of Houstonians are not yet fully vaccinated. So if you got that first shot, go back and get that second, but let's get vaccinated. That's important. You know, you going to the baseball games, you know, no limits and everything else. So while you're sitting around eating hot dogs and the popcorn, you just want to make sure that who you're sitting next to is fully vaccinated. Otherwise, put the hot dog and the popcorn down and go and so get vaccinated. And then I'm proud to announce the city of Houston is supporting the Olympic movement by ensuring athletes can be vaccinated prior to the Tokyo Games this July. In partnership with the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee and Harris County, Houston Sports Authority, the city will help vaccinate accredited athletes, delegates, and officials before they head to Tokyo for the games. So I got to get vaccinated in order for me to participate in the Olympics in Tokyo, and you'll have to come there to see me perform, but I intend to be fully vaccinated as I continue to ramp up for the Olympics. And I haven't decided which sport I'm going to participate in, but and then lastly, the city of Houston will celebrate our 4th annual Houston Africa Day celebration tomorrow. That's May 27th. That's a big deal. I will host the African Union Ambassador to the United States, Her Excellency Ambassador Hilda Suka Mafuz, and 13 ambassadors from African nations to Houston. Houston has a sizable African community, and this will showcase the different regions of the continent through arts, culture, and a taste of African cuisine. The day begins with an invitation-only business forum, and then Houston is Africa's 3rd largest trade partner, and speakers will discuss opportunities for future business. And then the celebration will end with a reception. Council members, you will all receive an invitation, and we're expecting a few hundred people at the George R. Brown. But this is the 4th annual Africa Day. It has grown, and I'm telling you, the response from the dignitaries from the African countries has been huge. So I want to give kudos to the Mayor's Office of International Trade, and Mazda has done an excellent job, Chris Olson. So looking forward to that. So, and then next Monday, of course, is Memorial Day, and I wish everyone a safe holiday as we honor and mourn members of the United States Armed Forces who died defending this country. And when we return, of course, next Tuesday, you know the schedule. So that does it for me on the mayor's report. And Madam Secretary, let's move to the agenda. Consent agenda.
Under the accept work category, item 4 has been removed for separate consideration. Need a motion for items 3 and 5.
Cassie Tatum, move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion in favor, opposed, granted.
Under the purchasing and tabulation of bids category, items removed for separate consideration are 7, 12, 15, 18, and 19. Need a motion on the balance.
Cassie Tatum, move.
Second, Robinson.
Moved and seconded. Discussion in favor, opposed, granted.
Under the ordinances category, item 29 has been pulled and will not be considered. Items removed for separate consideration are 21, 22, 23, and 28. Need a vote on the balance.
Discussion in favor, opposed, granted.
Items removed for separate consideration. Item 4 needs a motion.
Cassie Tatum, move.
Second, Robinson.
Moved and seconded on item number 4. Vice Mayor Pro Tem on item 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I noticed in the backup CFG Industries, the information we received from OBO that the wage and labor compliance was unsatisfactory. And the comments were the certified payroll and EEO docs were not received as required. And I was trying to find out, do we have any?
Problems.
Locked up.
I tell you what, if there's a motion to just hold this item and we'll come back to it. Is there a motion to hold?
Motion to hold. Robinson.
The move second to hold it, we'll place it at the end and come back to it. It's been moved and seconded. Any objection, chair is none. Motion granted. We'll come back to item 4. Let me just say to the councilman, maybe if the machine for her to sign off and then come back on. In fact, I think we're just gonna have to wait until she comes back on. So if we can have her to sign off and. If we can disconnect and then have her to come back. 1 second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're back. Well, I tell you what, I moved this item to the back end, and then let me get some information on the item, and then we'll come back to it, Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I something happened to my laptop. It just totally went down and told me to try again. So I just logged in on my phone.
Okay, we can hear you. We'll come back to item 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Madam Secretary.
Item 7 needs a motion.
Castex Tatum move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and second on item 7. Councilmember Peck on 7.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for $1.9 million for light duty vehicles, and I support the item. I just want to continue to highlight from time to time that I really would like to see us moving to a leasing vehicle system. I had that budget amendment last year for leasing vehicles, and HFD started doing that with the 103 light duty vehicles. And they're estimating that we will save about $3 million over 2 years with that program. So just a reminder, any vehicles that we could see moving forward to lease instead of purchase, I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Got it. Any other discussion on 7? Any other discussion? In favor? Opposed? Granted on 7.
Item 12 needs a motion.
On 12.
Castex Tatum move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and seconded on item 12. Discussion on 12. Discussion on 12. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 12.
Item 15 needs a motion.
She just spoke to that.
On item 15.
Tatum move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and seconded on item 15. Discussion on 15. Discussion on 15. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 15.
Item 18 needs a motion.
Castex Tatum move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and seconded on item 18. Discussion on 18. Discussion on 18. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 18.
Item 19 needs a motion.
Castex Tatum move.
Second, Robinson.
Been moved and seconded on item 19. Discussion on 19. Discussion on 19. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 19.
Item 21 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
On item 21, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Castex Tatum on 21.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a shout out and recognition to the legal team for recommending that we move our fine from $2,000 to $4,000. I do know that the state does allow us to go up to $4,000, and our current level is at $2,000. So excited to see that we are moving our city fines for illegal dumping up to $4,000. I think that, you know, if people are dumping in our city, it is an egregious act, and we need to make sure that we are holding them accountable. And increasing the fine for the people that continue to do this is definitely one way that we can send a message to people that it's not acceptable, and we really want to encourage them to dispose of their waste properly.
Thank you. And let me just say, I meant to have said it earlier, and this is to make people pay. for illegally dumping, because it really exacerbates the problem. Because if people see this this dumping illegal trash out there, then it just gets mixed in with even our regular heavy trash collection, and it just makes things far worse. It's unattractive. It's not safe. It creates a public health problem. And I also want to encourage the judges, whether they're municipal judges, whether they're state district court judges, is that when we find these people that have violated the law, for the judges to assist. Don't let them just walk away. Don't do that. You know, we are increasing the fine. Hit them with a heavy fine, because this is an all-out attack on people who are illegal dumping, whether they're people or whether they're businesses. This is a major problem, and we want to attack it from multiple levels. So, increasing the fine, asking the judges to make people feel it, okay, and not just give them a tap on the hand and walk away, but this, everybody's got to be engaged in it, and then we'll look to find ways to even put up additional cameras and monitors and you name it. But this is just one piece of the equation. There are other pieces, other components to come right along with it. Councilman Eagles.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you and the city attorney for bringing this item to council, Mayor. I know the legal department has been looking to bring these changes for some time. Illegal dumping is a serious issue in many communities in our city, including mine. It's become an increasingly large problem. Just a couple of weeks ago, a man previously convicted of dumping 18-wheeler tires was caught doing it again. I hope this increase in the fine from a maximum civil penalty of $2,000 to $4,000, as well as public education campaigns, will make would-be violators think twice. And again, Mayor, education campaigns. It's great that we're increasing the fine to $4,000, but if we don't let the public know that we've done this, for those that are actually doing the illegal dumping, it doesn't help our communities. So once again, I'm asking that Public Works use our monthly water bill to notify the public that if you participate in illegal dumping, you're about to get fined $4,000 if you get caught. It should be in English and Spanish and Vietnamese, and it should go out for the next 3 months or maybe once every 4 months to let the public know through our water bills that if you're caught doing illegal dumping, you could pay up to $4,000 fine. We need to make sure we educate the public, because just raising the fine to $4,000 and not letting the people know, it's not going to help the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor, and I echo my colleagues. I really appreciate this ordinance. I strongly support, the maximum fine of $4,000. I think it should be more. As I drive around my district in some neighborhoods, I can see 3 piles on the same block, and it's obvious it's from people who are doing construction and landscaping and evictions. And so this is absolutely needed. Just this week, Constable Alan Rosen, he shared a video of 3 men dumping dozens of tires, dozens of paint buckets within my district. And these people, they're trying to save a buck, but they need to be held accountable. And so I really appreciate this ordinance, and this is going to let them know that they're going to stop. We need them to stop. And so in my Be Clean team, the hot team, they've been working really hard to clean up this, clean up the trash throughout District B, and they're barely making a dent. And so again, thank you, Mayor, and to the Solid Waste Department and everyone that's doing everything they can to address this issue. I really appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo my colleagues' sentiments on this item. I think it's fantastic. I only wish that the state allowed for an even higher fine. But I know that especially Councilmember Jackson had a lot of callers this morning on this very issue. So I think it's very timely that this is being brought forth before council. And I hope that some of the additional funds that we may see from these fines will be able to go back towards cleaning up the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Cisneros.
Thank you, Mayor. I too support this, and but yeah, some of the comments about this is just one piece of it. That's exactly right. This alone is not enough, but I hope that it gets good media coverage, because it's going to raise some eyebrows and draw some attention to this issue. One of the things that I've done in District H is purchase 7 additional cameras that have been in place now since 2018, and we were just looking at numbers in the last few days to see how that's worked out. And since 2018 to today, there have been 170 investigations and 97 charges filed because of the activity that was caught on those cameras through Precinct 1. So that's catching them is part of it. Then having these increased fines is part of it. I also really appreciate the partnerships I have with the Greater East End Management District and the Greater Northside Management District, where I fund hauling away trash that they collect. So we're trying to tackle it, but it's really still such a big problem. So I'm very hopeful that increasing the fines will get attention and will be effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on item 21? Any other discussion? In favor? Opposed? Granted. Thank you all on 21.
Item 22 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
On item 22, discussion on 22. Discussion on 22. Discussion on 22. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 22.
Item 23 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
On item 23, discussion on 23. Discussion on 23. Discussion on 23. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 23.
Item 28 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
On item 28, discussion on 28. Discussion on 28. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 28.
All right, back to item 4.
And we're back to item 4. Vice Mayor Pro Tem, Kester Taylor, go back to item 4 again.
Okay, Mayor, my question was, I noticed in the backup that CFG Industries received an unsatisfactory rating from our wage and labor compliance section from OBO. They did not turn in their certified payroll or the EEO documents that are required. And I was wondering, do we have any established penalties, or what happens when companies are identified as unsatisfactory in the wage and labor compliance? I think I just got a text.
Yeah, I just got a text. There is no penalty assessed at the end of the contract for labor standard non-compliance. The recourse due to failure to submit certified payrolls during the course of the contract is withholding payment or termination, which is rare or never. But nothing is codified for the end of the contract.
I definitely think we should look into some type of recourse if we have contractors that have a history of non-compliance. How are we going to evaluate that as a city? I think it's important for people, if the contract requires you to turn in your payroll documents and your EEO documents and we don't receive them, and they still get to, move forward with additional contracts for the city. I do think that's something we need to look into and investigate further to see if we need to have some type of policy in place, especially for repeat offenders.
Well, yeah, your point is well made, and let me ask OBO and SPD to come forth and bring me a recommendation to address that. Let's say within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I agree with you. Give us a couple of weeks with the recommendation to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Any other discussion on item 4? Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Granted on 4.
This completes the items on the agenda.
Okay, we're getting ready to turn the pop off and see. Why don't we get started? We'll start with council. And bear in mind, budget will be considered on next week. amendments, we'll prefer by noon tomorrow. You don't have to. I'm not encouraging you to, to submit anything. I mean, you can just smile. You can just smile and just say, hey, all that good stuff, but tomorrow, and then of course next week will be the budget. So, but let me thank you all for the actions today. Okay, we're gonna start off on the pop-off. Councilmember Gagus, you up first.
He's passing.
Oh, he's passing. Okay, Councilmember Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank you and your leadership for all that you've done to help celebrate the year's anniversary of the George Floyd murder, and just what that means to the city of Houston. As we go into the Memorial Day weekend, Mayor, I think it's obviously appropriate for us to think about and pray for the Floyd family, for us to join together as a city, come together and continue to pray for each other. I'm thinking of one great community leader from the same neighborhood as George Floyd, and that's our late, great Keith Wade, who passed away almost a year ago today, just a few days ago on the 21st of May. So thinking about Keith and his great leadership in the community and how we must nurture ours in our communities. And with Memorial Day in mind, Mayor, I just wanted to think about the great ways in which we've done that in our neighborhoods, with murals, with celebrations, with demonstrations in the street, by and large, peaceful and positive. And one way I would encourage citizens of Houston, if they're looking for something to really enjoy and think about, is an exhibit that I was able to attend yesterday as it opens at the Menil Collection in the Menil Drawing Institute in particular, where they've got an exhibit, a timely one really, for the anniversary of George Floyd's death, on dream monuments in ways in which we memorialize. And it's really a provocative exhibit and something that I think we could all enjoy. So I call that to your attention, Mayor, and wish you a happy Memorial Day.
Thank you, Councilmember Robinson. Same to you. Councilmember Kubash.
Mayor, as we're getting more active and we're getting around so much more, I keep seeing graffiti on our interstate system, and I realize that that's TxDOT and not the city of Houston. But Mayor, I just got off the phone with TxDOT earlier this morning concerning some of this graffiti that's on our bridges. That one in particular that shows up a lot is toe flop. And if you Google toe flop, almost every major city has this same graffiti symbol. I guess he's like Spider-Man. He hangs from a thread. I have no idea how they do this, but nonetheless, the quicker you take graffiti down, the less likely it's going to continue to pop up. And I'm sure I need your support to try to get with our state reps and senators to get TxDOT involved and let's clean up these freeways so that we look like a really nice city that we are. And Mayor, I know you've been playing with the Astros for years, and we sure need to start winning.
Yeah, I had a leg ankle problem the other night. I couldn't get on my uniform, but I'm planning to get out there today, but I'm still negotiating with Jim Crane. He ain't paying me enough. So, I've tried to get my contract renegotiated. Yeah, they got to beat that. I think they're playing the Dodgers, so they got to come on with it, Okay, Councilmember Tiffany Thomas.
Good morning, Mayor, and good morning, colleagues. I have a series of updates and save the dates for those who are listening. Mayor Turner, thank you for acknowledging Africa Day. I look forward to joining you tomorrow night. District F, we have some of the richest African culture in our neighborhood. So from Richmond to Beach Nut, Bissonnette, West Belford, you can experience a variety of African culture in our local economy. So I look forward to representing them there tomorrow on their behalf. Also, just a reminder to my colleagues, and particularly those public speakers who called regarding investment around housing and homelessness. We have our Housing and Community Affairs meeting Thursday, May 27th at 10:30 in the morning. It'll be facilitated via Teams. You can watch via HTV. A series of updates regarding our efforts. Just want to highlight ABC 13 is featuring communities all throughout the city, and this week they are spotlighting one of our neighborhoods in District F, A-Leaf. And so last night they featured Deontay Hutchison, who's the president of the African American Police Officers League, who's a proud graduate of A-Leaf LSIC, and I believe Christian Menifee, our Harris County attorney, is up next tonight. So appreciate the spotlight, and for residents that are interested, make sure you watch ABC 13 for the feature. Mayor, my comment is not unique. We hear it often, but last week, I believe there were more gunshots in West Houston, random gunfire. 2 weeks ago in my neighborhood, there were shots at 2 a.m, and all of our neighbors, we ran outside concerned. And so, there's not much that we can do around getting our hands on that, but definitely a conversation and hopefully some resolutions that we can offer, because, as we approach the summertime, people are concerned about how that crime will increase. We are aware in District F that trash is delayed, and we're working hand in hand with solid waste, with junk waste. And we are working hand in hand with solid waste to make sure that's resolved. And so if your junk waste has not yet been picked up, please contact our office, and we're facilitating that. And please know that as of Friday, it was completed. And for June, it will begin again on June 1. So if there's any questions about that, contact our office and 311, and we'll help facilitate a resolution for that. Mayor Turner, as we move into hurricane month, I have personal anxiety around that. But if anything comes across your administration around resources that we can provide, actual resources, blue tarps or any of that for those who may not be able to afford it, would you be willing to please share that information? Because my concern is that some of our families that may not have taken advantage of the no tax weekend for hurricane items may not have the dollars to do so. So if there are any items of no cost to residents, I would like to facilitate a disbursement in my district. Huge shout out to Doug Smith for joining me on last Friday as I received an award from West Houston Assistance Ministries, the Houston Impact Award. And Doug is always a trooper, so I appreciate him joining me and sharing with the WAM staff, the residents, phenomenal staff, phenomenal work. And I want to thank the District F staff for joining me as well. And lastly, we have a date. We're going to have our very first public safety town hall in District F with our new police chief, Troy Finner, on June 30th. So that date is secure, and we are excited to welcome him to the West Side, where we can hear his vision and priorities in our community. And so our residents will have an opportunity to talk to him face to face. This will be a face-to-face socially distanced event, so we look forward to that. More details to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Alcorn.
Thank you, Mayor. And as I told you last week, Mayor, I feel like this has been a really good budget process. Everybody's really stepped up, from BFA, Dave Martin and Ed Pollard, all the department directors and staff. I ask a lot of questions in that SharePoint, and I've gotten answers to just about every single one in a really timely manner. So I appreciate everybody's work on that. I'll be publishing all those questions and answers today. It was a tight schedule on the budget workshop, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity to say, and we had a lot of public speakers, which was great. So a lot of those SharePoint questions are important. I just want to say also, I've been talking about my Your 2 Cents survey that closes tomorrow. I've had about 1,600 responses, and interestingly, they've been from I think we have 114 zip codes. We did it in 4 languages this year. I've gotten 140 ones in Spanish, a sprinkling of Vietnamese and Mandarin. We have all age groups, even 9 people under age 17 filled out the survey. I know these surveys aren't perfect. I'm not an official pollster. I don't know where all the sampling's coming from. This was really just my way that I started last year of introducing all of the trade-offs that we have to make as a city, all of the categories in which we have to fund. And that's what I've gotten so many comments on, Mayor and colleagues, is, wow, you guys really do a lot. I didn't even realize, how difficult it is to make priority choices. So they're all over. This year we have at the top public works and public safety, and homelessness has arisen to the top. I think that's just I don't know if it's it's more visible, or our efforts there have really seen results. But people do want to see money spent there. And I know, Mayor, you have spent so much of our CARES money, and I think additional plans for ARPA money to keep addressing that issue. But that, at least in my non-scientific survey population, that is a big priority for many constituents. So we also had, back to the ages, we had 26% from 35 to 49 years old, 24% from 50 to 64 years old, and 19.7% 65 and above. And I'll be, of course, doing a big report on all of the survey information, but thank you all to all of my colleagues who pushed it out. And thank you to all of the public speakers who are coming and will come again next week, and who have come to the workshops. You enrich our process. The emails we get that people don't hear about enrich our process. The more participatory, the better, in my opinion. So thank you, Mayor. I think it's been a good process. We still have next week, but I really want to give a shout out to the departments who really, gave me great and thorough answers to all of my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pack.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, I got to visit the Rescued Pets movement to see the dogs off on their trip to Colorado to their forever homes. And we get asked a lot about what we're doing to help the animals that are in District A. So I just wanted to share some of the initiatives that we're doing through our council district service funds. So we've allocated funds for an overtime initiative with BARC's animal enforcement team to go to certain hotspots where we see a lot of stray animals, and they did such a great job. They were able to find the owners for many of the dogs that they picked up, which was great. And then the rest of the animals were taken to BARC, but we didn't want to increase the burden on the shelter at BARC. So we also allocated funding for the transport for Rescued Pet movement. And then we are also allocating funds for a low-cost adoption weekend. And we'll have a trailer from BARC coming to District A as well. So more details to come on that. And so I just wanted to share some of those things that we're working on in District A, because I know it's really important to a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, going back to the GLO's decision to not give a single dollar for federal funding for infrastructure, when Houston as a city accounted for nearly half of all damages statewide during Harvey, billions of dollars in damages, over 200,000 homes impacted. No one can say with a straight face that leaving Houston out of this funding was not intentional. And the formula was clearly rigged. So Mayor, thank you for being outspoken on this. All of my colleagues, thank you. Everyone at the county level, state level, on both sides of the aisle. It's extremely important that we keep the pressure on to make sure that we get the funds that Houston needs. I wanted to give a special shout out to Jack Belinsky with Dawn for being so responsive to my office's request to help out a constituent. Jack went out, did a site visit, and helped propose a creative solution for our constituent, and I really appreciate how hard he works. Mayor, the rain barrel giveaway this Saturday was incredible. Houston Public Works gave away 1,500 rain barrels. Largest to date at the Botanic Garden. The line was all the way back consistently the entire time. It just blew my mind, the demand for it. So thank you to the Public Works team, the employees and contractors, including Quincy, who was helping us with our District C allocation and distribution. But they were out there in the rain, in the heat, handing out those rain barrels. And I appreciate all the Houstonians, especially in District C, who are using rain barrels to improve resiliency when it comes to both flooding and drought issues. Cub Scout Pack 30 had their graduation ceremony on Saturday. I was out there with them in the torrential downpour. That did not stop them from their graduation ceremony at one of our parks. Love to see the kids starting so early with community engagement. They had actually volunteered at some of our bayou cleanups in the district. It was great to be there with them and their parents. And I also really appreciated, they surprised me with a community service award and a badge for being a social distancing champion. I didn't know I was known for being such a stickler for social distancing, but there you go. And I got my own special badge for it. I wanted to wish a very, very happy birthday to my great uncle, Babe Kamen, who turned 97 yesterday. We love him. And Mayor, I think the last time he was down at City Hall was under Mayor Welch. So we're going to try and bring him down again to come check out City Hall. And finally, wishing everyone a happy Memorial Day as we remember those serving our country. Please be safe, don't drink and drive, mask up, and enjoy the long weekend.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Evans Shabazz.
Thank you, Mayor. And my first question is, where is Councilmember Tiffany D. Thomas? I didn't recognize that beautiful person that gave that report this morning on her district. She always looks so different. Anyway, I want to thank Jason Oliver, who was a consistent speaker, giving great suggestions. He's a District D constituent, and he participated so consistently in our budget meetings, and I want to thank him publicly. And encourage him and anyone who has questions to reach out to my office to see if we can assist you with getting those answers, and certainly to give us your recommendations as well. And I was remiss on May 15th, there was a Armed Forces Day with Bishop Frank Rush, and I found out that I got a trophy. I was not able to attend, but I want to thank him publicly, he and his wife, Joanne Valley Rush, who made sure that I got the trophy, and I really appreciate it. And on this past Saturday, on May 22nd, St. James Episcopal Church and Pastor Thomas hosted a fantastic outdoor health fair, which was very well attended despite the inclement weather. And I want to thank Ayesha Mutopi Johnson, who was one of the organizers. And so many individuals and families were assisted with information regarding mental health, HIV and STD testing, COVID testing. And one of the biggest highlights for me, they offered prayer. And certainly I got in the middle of the circle and asked for them to extend their hands, and they did. And I thought that that was wonderful. I also I was on the winning team for a relay. Now it was a little fluke. Somebody threw the a little bit too far and my team was able to win, but a win is a win, right? It's a W. And I'm definitely looking forward to the next health fair event at St. James, and want all Houstonians to remember that the City of Houston Health Department is offering free vaccinations for those who are interested, and I hope that the interest gets higher, because we certainly need to be vaccinated against COVID-19. On Sunday, May 23rd, my office was able to partner with Anita Daniels and Anita D Design Foundation. She is so awesome. She came forward, and with the help of DeAndre Sams, Lifted Distraction, Sharon Mayberry, and Mosque 45, the Nation of Islam, they were there to distribute both cleaning supplies and clothes to those in need. I need to give a special thanks to Gary Monroe for the clothes, and certainly HPD for always supporting the community and lending a helping hand. As you know, they had a terrible tragedy there, and this is happening all over. And so certainly my prayers go up to that community, as the families and all those that have been impacted by these senseless murders. As many of you may know, yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, and so many dedications and remembrance events have happened nationally to remember his legacy and life. But of course, George Floyd grew up in the 3rd Ward community and graduated from Jack Yates High School, both which are located in District B, the district of destination. So as a tribute, many of us came together this week to pay our special respects in our own special way. On yesterday, my office held a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new computer lab in the CUNY Homes apartment complex, where George Floyd grew up and spent his formative years. The computer lab and Wi-Fi park, which is the first Wi-Fi park in a Houston apartment complex, I understand, and it has certainly been in the planning stages. But I have to certainly thank you, Mayor, for assisting us in getting this done. Certainly, it was very important that it be done on yesterday to commemorate the 1-year anniversary. And I want to also mention that on the previous Sunday, the Stone family donated the property across from Jack Yates High School on the corner of Alabama and Napoleon as a new pocket park that was named and dedicated after George Floyd. If you get an opportunity, you need to go down that street. You'll see the Black Lives Matter mural as well as the George Floyd Memorial, which actually has a chimney that smokes when you have it lit. And it is the first of 2 pocket parks that have been, well, one is coming into the neighborhood, but this one is certainly holds special significance. And lastly, this Friday at 3 p.m., Jack Yates High School will be hosting a groundbreaking ceremony of a practice field opened in honor of George Floyd. And I said last, but I have one more. This Saturday, May 29th from 11 to 1 at St. Francis Catholic Church, Sunnyside Energy Trust, District D, Houston City Council, at large, position 5, Houston Area Urban League, and certainly the mayor of Sunnyside, Mayor Sandra Hines, will host the Sunnyside Energy Trust Employment and Resource Fair, hiring Sunnyside, helping homeless bound seniors as well. The Sunnyside Energy Trust Employment and Resource Fair will provide job leads for workforce development, plumbing, construction, various sports and arena events, City of Houston Jail, Harris County, and all the hospitals, I believe, except maybe, well, and most of the hospitals. Other information will be provided regarding assistance in finding available funding for senior homeowners. The address is St. Francis Catholic Church, 4600 Reed Road. That will be this Saturday from 11 to 1. And if you'd like the list of vendors, please go to my Facebook page at District D Houston. Lastly, Lane Staffing is hiring full-time and part-time paratransit drivers. No commercial driver's license is required. They start at $15 an hour plus benefits. If you're interested, please call 713-522-0000. And Mayor, lastly, if you want to keep this virtual going, you can get my support. But I know we got to eventually go back in. But, you know, if you decide that, you know, you think differently, you already got my support on that because I love this virtual. And I love being able to really, you can really listen to the constituents, even though they're not there. And so I really appreciate, you know, them coming and being present. And I want to wish a happy and safe Memorial Day to everyone. And thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Councilman Knox. Councilman Knox. Yeah. Okay. And then Vice Mayor Pro Tem Cassie Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to wish Pastor Remus Wright and co-pastor Mia Wright happy 30th church anniversary again. They did celebrate their 30th church anniversary this Sunday with their congregation. It was a wonderful service. And I just wanted to let them know how honored I am that they are such amazing community partners. So happy 30th anniversary to Pastor Remus Wright and co-pastor Mia Wright at the Fountain of Praise Church. Mayor and Council, we received 352 submissions for the suggested names of our library. So excited about the engagement and the number of people that submitted names for the library. The library naming committee will get an Excel spreadsheet with the 250-word support for the name, and they will narrow it down to 3 to 5 suggested names. And then we'll do a citywide poll, and the library committee will make the final suggestion and name for the library that will be at 5505 Belrose Drive. So wanted to thank all 352 Houstonians who submitted suggestion names. We, Mayor Turner, they even had your name in there a couple of times for the library. For the library. But I'll definitely. I'll definitely share the list with everyone. There were some unique names that I think the library naming committee will get a kick out of. Want to reiterate, Councilmember Shabazz did announce the Metro needs paratransit drivers, and lane staffing is doing a tremendous job of making sure we can get those people hired. $15 an hour with full benefits. Many times, we look at these entry-level positions and they don't provide benefits. And I think that companies know the importance of providing benefits to their employees. And here's an opportunity where you can start at $15 an hour and grow, and then also make sure that your health care is taken care of. You can contact Lane Staffing at 713-522-0000. And if you call them this week, they can get you training and paid training starting next week. So it's a great opportunity for people looking for employment. Last night, we had our PIP meeting at the Southwest HPD station. We had a wonderful presentation by Texas State Trooper Richard Standifer, and the presentation was about active shooters. We had a tremendous number of our District K residents that braved the rainy season, and they've been vaccinated, and we social distance, and they enjoyed the presentation. And it was good to be back with our residents after so many months and answer their questions and really talk about the seriousness of safety in our community. And I can tell you, we had a discussion about the crime that's really happening in Fort Bend, Houston, and Commander Halliday did commit to assigning additional units in the area because of the crime that is on the uptick in that Fort Bend area. So we appreciate Commander Halliday and all of the officers that are working, especially fighting crime in those target areas where we see it's happening more often. That's it for us in the District K office. Be kind, stay safe, take care of each other, and happy Memorial Day.
Well, thank you all so very much. I do want to also congratulate Trader Truth for receiving the Changemaker Award on the Billboard. What you call it? Billboard Awards.
Billboard.
Trader Truth got the Changemaker, and I tell you, he had his black hat on and his black tux. Trey had it. I have to give it to him. And his speech was incredible. His speech was incredible, and he gave a special shout out to Houston. So, Trey, we love him. I love the guy. And so congratulations, Trey, from all of us for the Changemaker Award at the Billboard Awards. So that was great.
Oh, Mayor, and I forgot to thank Treasure True for his contribution to the CUNY homes. Oh my God, he was there. It was awesome. And he has committed to 1,000 labs, computer labs throughout the city. And I don't know how I forgot that, but I want to thank him also.
Well, it wasn't too late. So
thank you.
Yeah, but not too late. I saw y'all on television. Y'all were looking good. I like that angle. So, but look, everybody be safe over the weekend and enjoy Memorial Weekend, and then we'll see each other back on Wednesday.
For a consolidated session.
Right, Wednesday for a consolidated, not on Tuesday, but on Wednesday will be the consolidated, and then we'll turn to the consent agenda, which will include the budget. Okay. Having said all of that, we stand adjourned.